you lost.
Hey guys, welcome to the close. 2 o'clock, that means a couple hours left in a very interesting trading session. We've had a move to the upside, big move down. We're back in basically unchanged territory this afternoon as we head into the final 2 hours. We are positive on the S&P, but only just 0.01%, a quarter of a percent for the Dow back to the upside. It's the NASDAQ that's lagging. Huge moves on some tech stocks back lower again this afternoon. So we'll talk a little bit about a few of those coming up here. But overall, a little bit better than when we left at 11 o'clock. Anyways, TSX here in Toronto, about 0.5% to the upside. Crude oil back to unchanged as well after a massive move once again overnight. Bitcoin and Ethereum back in negative territory as well. The volatility and headline sensitivity, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Continuing here, very mixed board to show you. Look at that right now, dead flat, 0.0000 for the S&P. Penn, some of the travel names up here in negative territory for the consumer discretionary group, leading the way to the downside, even with a big move in Best Buy, a big move in DLTR, TSCO as well. Back to the upside today on a decent report for BBY. Tesla, 3% lower. Ford, 2% lower. GM being dragged along with it. This EPAM, just a crazy week for this thing. If you remember on Monday, it got cut in more than half. It was about 70 or 80%. It bounced then the past couple of days back to the downside today. Chips are weak. AMD leading 4% lower. IPGP, I should say, in the hardware equipment maker, off earnings 8% to the downside. Everything else very, very mixed. Utilities, real estate, some energy stocks, individual names down here, positive, but otherwise very, very mixed board. Communication services also weak. A quick look at a very mixed board for the NASDAQ as well. It is some of the healthcare names that putting in interesting moves currently this afternoon, including Moderna, 4% back to the downside there. Otherwise, though, pretty red right across the NASDAQ. It is lagging the rest of the market. Hi, all. Hope you're well this afternoon. Welcome. We're going to spend some time here to kick things off, as we normally do, going back and having a look at opportunities we had to focus on at the open this morning. If you normally join us at 8:30, if you're not, I don't know what you're doing the first hour of the day. Make sure you're here every single day at 8:30. We'll get you prepared for the open at 9:30. We're going to kick things off here with Neil today. He's going to walk you through one of his trades from this morning.
Bonus time here because we're going to talk a little bit about Rivian. And the good part about this is we're going to get to talk about two different things here and almost two trades on the same stock. And a good lesson learned. That's why it's going to be the trade of the day, because we like to educate here. And this is what it's going to be all about. Now, Rivian, they had the news yesterday of the price hike, 17, 20%, whatever it was going to be. And of course, the stock got absolutely pummeled. So we'll come back to that in a quick little second. This is what we are doing in the greater context in the daily chart. You had the woodshed day yesterday, breaking below that 60, getting close to that all-time low that you can see point out here, just above $50 on the daily chart. So in the context of the morning, you essentially were going right back up towards a 55 level, nice little consolidation, 60 to 55 type of a break, and then looking to get a move, a pop and fade trade. Because the way I saw it, when market was starting to come back in here, you have a horrible trend, you have clearly bad news, you have the EV space under pressure, unable to hold a lot of bids, and just looking for our favorite little pop and trade. Now sometimes you can have the greatest setup in the world or even a great idea, but the circumstances around it matter. And right around when it started popping to the upside to come into that short channel, there was an announcement they were pulling back the price decrease. So essentially that headline, which, by the way, we're not going to get into whether I think that's bad or good. I don't think that actually changes the litmus because you're just waffling back and forth in management. But either way, the algos pick this up, and it just starts screaming. And the way it comes into your price level matters. The algos and buy programs buying it up on that headline, I end up just getting stopped out and was hunting stops until it turned, that kind of buy action. And sometimes it happens to you. And from there, you're not going to be happy with the trade. Like, obviously at this point, it's easy to get emotional. Like, you got to be kidding me. How is this, my loser, actually one of my worst two stocks today, is going to be something where you pretty much had it dead to rights. It'll happen to you. But at that point, and you've missed it, and I'm not willing to short in this consolidation, the only thing left was that 50 bottom. That's it. If I'm going to trade Rivian at that point, I'm going to go long off of 50 because I don't have another play, risk to reward. So sometimes you've got to be able to back off. It's a frustrating thing to sit this out and then sit this out because I can't structure a trade that makes sense to me. So we finally wait for the 50. At this point, it's still looking very weak, so aggressively scalping out the first test. The second test was pretty good, so we're definitely willing to hold out and try and get a retracement. I'm not looking for the home run here. You've got a horrible downward trend. I actually think the catalyst to that news was a complete rug pull, and I didn't think it was positive. So I'm still leaning that this is a downward trend. So I really just wanted the retracement to the last capitulation level. It's about 51.5. When it checked up there, that's when I put in the trail and got out. Could it have been $2 on the last little bit? Sure, we could have held it for a little bit more. But you got to remember the overall thesis, and don't get me wrong, like both Sean and I love that short up there. Sometimes there's not a ton you can do about it. You could just maybe not have a stop in that particular situation. Maybe you're just super quick to get back in. But in that spot, I don't like out of frustration getting back in. If you can catch it on a good setup on that high, fair enough. But sitting it out, waiting for that 50 level, and then executing, not trying to hit the home run, just making the next trade that is in front of you that sets up for you. That's all you can do in that situation because you're always going to get frustrated by the market. The best you can do is follow your rules, and the profits will come off your good decisions.
If your rules work out that day, I guess, is the best way to come out of that. But yeah, it's one of those days, guys, one of those days. We had a number of other names on the watch list this morning. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you grab the absolutely free, every single day free watch list. That's the link. Miss V will join me in a second here, and she'll have that in the chat for you. If you haven't done so already, grab that note. A few things to discuss. Bros, wanted to touch on Bros here, first of all. Popped up midday or so around lunchtime. CNBC was pumping this one once again, so I got the typical CNBC bounce up to 48 there. I just checked. They actually reported a little bit earlier on, and I mean, no one clearly cared about this, but back to a support level anyways for Dutch Bros, but you can see going to need a little bit of help if it's going to go any further today, but a few people still discussing that. I mean, we can talk about some of these EV makers as well. Tesla's straight to the downside today, even with the Berlin Gigafactory getting approval. Never caught a bid at all, just went straight southbound all morning long, still continues to try to bounce with the overall market. But I mean, EV names are in focus a little bit right across the board, guys.
Yeah, I actually wanted to comment on Bros because it was something we were sort of saying. It would be cool, and maybe you could actually do this, is if you know somebody's going on to CNBC, look at the channel that they're sitting in down here and just say, okay, well, they're coming on probably sometime in the lunchtime show, so I don't know, between 12 and 1 o'clock, find the channel, throw a bracket order in there. You do your research because I'll show you the other chart in a second, but you get triggered on your stop when it comes in on X amount of volume or whatever you want to do, and just take the long. You're risking on that bracket 40 to 50 cents. Always pop over to your daily chart. Oh yeah, what's yesterday's high? Whoops, I wanted to show a straight line there. Let's get rid of this line. Yeah, what's that top? That's right around 48, 47.75. So you look back and see, oh, where does it top out? About 10 cents higher than that. I'm not saying you hold out for the whole thing, but you go into it knowing you want to be out in front of that high. And there you go. Usually it retraces. That's exactly what's happened here. I didn't see any obvious trades. Maybe you could have said bouncing off of the pre-market highs, as it did, also VWAP. But it just feels like we see one of these every now and then, and one of these days I'm actually going to just try to take the trade because the risk to reward is pretty solid. If it does absolutely nothing, maybe you take the breakout at 75 and it doesn't move. You don't have to stop out at the low, but if it gets going, the algos are clearly making this kind of a play, and if there's enough liquidity, then you can jump in and sort of ride their backs. But how many times do we have to see the same thing before wanting to capture a little bit of that party? Again, you got to know what's happening. Jumping in there too late. Never buy the top of these, by the way. I mean, have we ever seen one that extended? Maybe it has if there was legitimate news, but most of the times you're not going to get too much extension past the first obvious resistance point, which didn't happen here.
Sorry about that, guys. I was checking out some charts, looking at some possible trade ideas here. But yeah, Bros was I don't know. People like that stock. I feel like, you know, a recent IPO and things like that coming to market, it's just a tough environment. I mean, if they came to market 3 or 4 years ago, the stock would be rocking. I mean, even Starbucks can't get off the bottom here, it looks like. Anyways, what is Starbucks even at? They were at 90 last time I checked. It seemed a little bit low for 92 there for Starbucks. And I remember it was cruising around 118 for the longest time here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, 118. Yeah, wow. See, sometimes you just like these little things just get stuck in your head. Look at this price. Look at a Starbucks chart when you get a second here. And I just threw out 118 there. We never even talk about Starbucks on the show. Not even sure how I know that. But look at this 118 top for the longest time there. But look at it. It's not working either to the downside. And Starbucks trying to find its spot there for sure. I'm pretty happy, man. The largest trade today for me as far as dollar-wise concerned here, Snowflake. We just took a $8 winner on this play, and we're finally. It's just so funny that we take that win and like we're flat on the stock. We're positive on it, but again, minuscule amounts. Short, and then we finally were smart enough right there to take this win. So. And we will talk about Snowflake in a minute, I hope. I think, anyways, I'm not sure what's on the rundown. But we finally shorted the top there. That's 226, and then got out right now at 217 into this consolidation period there. So I know there were some people on Prad's afternoon show asking about, was I still in Snowflake or not? And I did mention that we did get out. Look at these shorts. Shorting the top here. And it's funny, because I mentioned to Brendan, like, how fun this stock is to trade. And it's just wild. Like, don't use very many shares. We have so many great shorts in here, but at most of the time I was getting stopped out, too tight of stops in here. Sometimes we let it go $3 or $4, but again, you know, that's an $8 winner there. 226 down to 217.20. I think it's 890 or something like that. So that was a good win. And again, we respected some of these areas. And I'm only bringing that up now because look where we are. We just dipped down to 217 again and bounced. So sometimes you don't have to wait for those huge home runs. Just respect different levels that you see.
A huge monster range on Snowflake. We had it top of the board. I'm just still watching Bros here, guys. More volume coming back in. Just ripped up $1 again there on decent volume spike. So heads up on Bros this afternoon. The other earnings name we were discussing in the pre-market was Best Buy. They reported a better holiday quarter. There was still some supply chain talk and a little bit of weakness initially after the report. On that supply chain talk, but it quickly went red to green this morning in the pre-market, gave you a nice move.
Yeah, I think if it would have been easy to sort of just talk about this one for the trade of the day. I just felt Rivian was a little bit more instructive because sometimes the algos do what they do, and there's not much you can do about it when you have a good level. Best Buy, and someone asked this morning why, when it was a very mixed quarter, right? Like it wasn't as if they blew everything out of the water. They definitely talked about supply chain, and the guide could have been a heck of a lot better. But the truth of the matter is buyback, increased dividend, the pay already $3. So it's also one of those names that in retail has been beaten up a little bit. So sometimes that's all it really takes. It had that beat up. A lot of people are looking to get some retail exposure. You've seen a lot of talk, like Lowe's had a good move there. You see a lot of talk of people wanting to get into Walmart. But Best Buy, in the midst of a break, and when it took out that 100, I was essentially looking for too wide of a channel for a dip buy, thinking it had to be 99 to 103, and those just never came into play. And when it started screaming up and the market was doing a bit of a pullback, I said, look, even these high flyers, the way the market was starting to fall earlier in the session, like right around 10:30, and you were making a triple top on a stock that had mixed earnings overall, right? So it wasn't all roses. You were looking at it up almost 11% at the time, or maybe even a little bit more than that. Actually, it was probably 11.5%. And it's 1, 2, 3 tests at 113. And I decided, forget about it. Let's just short this. And at the time, I was looking for get this channel and play the rest of VWAP because you're going counter trend in the stock. But overall, you just pull the chart up. When the ES does this, and at the time this was at VWAP, the ES was breaking this support channel here. So you gotta cancel your bids. What I was saying, cancel your bid and then try to get a little bit more because the futures are breaking support. So you go from a double, triple top retracement into VWAP style trade, which also works back into this support level, and it turns into something bigger because the market goes in your favor. And I end up putting a trailing stop in to be able to catch about $5 here because it never went any further. And guess what? We're right back at these highs. The context is a little bit different. because you do see the ES getting back up to 4,400 as we're about to approach those highs. So if there's another rollover, I might be taking a shot at this 113 level on Best Buy, but I have to be patient with it. Again, missed out on the longs because I wasn't willing to buy it at the prices it was at the open. So waited for it to make its top and then pounced on it. The market was definitely a bit of a help, but watching the ES the whole way, and that definitely got the assist.
AMC starting to run a little bit here. I do want to address something. Someone said, oh, the screen is showing that I'm up on Ford today. I am not up on Ford, and I will explain to you what that means across the bottom. And this is why I say all the time, just tag Neil or I in the chat, and we can tell you if we're up or down on the stock net-wise. And I'll explain how that works, and it's because we're having like not a problem, it's just we don't know how without showing our P&L, you know, what the right way to show a stock is. And I'll explain it for you guys in a minute. Okay, so AMD, we did short this right here, 113.6, 113.60, 113.50, and then it's just made a nice move to the downside. Normally, so again, I'm out of 2/3 of this trade right here on AMD, and you can see right now, it did hit this 112.40 bottom. I was well aware of that. The bottom was actually 112.20 right here on AMD, but you know, just was holding it to see if we did get a flush throughout the rest of the afternoon. This is a trade that obviously has been working out for me here, and we'll have to wait to see where it goes from here. But AMC, I'm gonna hold it until it takes out this 114 top. That's it. So if you're looking for a trade on AMC, I'm not going to average in. Really, what I was just playing was the momentum here on the NASDAQ. So, you know, once it breaks, we get these tops. I'm thinking that, you know, we do have a little bit of a lower high type of thing happening right there, and then right now, if this makes the lower high, then maybe we retrace back down in. So we're going to hold AMD and see if we do get a run down to the bottom. And then the thing is that if not, like, look, we're short at 113.56, right? So that's good, but that already right there is a 113.20, so that's 36 cents. That's $1 right there. So we've already taken $1.36 out of this trade. So really the downward move now becomes, if it comes back up to 114, then it's a 44-cent hit. So we will give back. So so that's why I'm doing it, like a third, and I'm holding the last third. If the last third comes out, you just do the simple math. And this is the problem with what we're doing, because it doesn't give you the share size idea. But if I just tell you out a third, and holding my last third, you could just simply do the math. Like that's 30 cents plus $1, that's $1.30. Then if I lose on the last little bit here at 114, then that will be whatever my price is now minus that hit, right? And so that'll be a 46-cent hit. So if I've taken $1.30 out of the stock there and I take a 40-cent hit on the way back, then that's going to show net positive on the trade 95 cents or whatever the difference is, right? So that's what we're doing as far as that is concerned. But like I said, you know, you could definitely put it in there and see what you're talking about. Go ahead.
To that point, because someone asked in the chat, why don't we show percentages? Actually,
we
actually did show percentages when it was internal. We did get some feedback that wasn't the best thing to show. Before we went to YouTube, it was internal to all the Day Trade the World offices, and we just decided when it was popular, let's see what happens if we put it to the public. But yeah, it was like, oh, that's too convoluted, and we had a big thing, and it showed percentage gains. You'll hear us try to say that. I usually talk percentages when we're going small caps because I think the context matters more. When you're talking about a cheaper stock, to give the percentage. On a big cap name, a lot of times people just want to hear the growth, and maybe that's just what we're accustomed to. But you know, Sean's right about that. Like it's really more important, like the risk parameters around the stock. You know, and sort of why you're getting in where you're getting out. Am I getting out a bit here? You're getting out half, getting out a third. This is your target price. This is where your stop is going to be, expected slippage, so risk to reward. That's the nitty gritty of structuring a trade, which actually we'll get into a little bit later here as we go into the rundown. But I mean, by the way, this market, 4,400 on the ES, which I was talking about, that is also yesterday's high. I failed to mention that. The lower high that we're putting in right now corresponds with yesterday's high on the ES. So we're at a big level. I wasn't just like, when I talked about Best Buy at 113, the ES is at a key level too.
Just back to me quickly here, and I just want to say what's up to James Gass here, because that is the point of what Neil, myself, and Brendan and Pratt, everybody, we're trying to do on the show here. And it's just like, there's so many different people out there that won't be honest with you, and that's why I'm saying, like, you know, I'm going to be as honest as I can. I tell you days I'm red, I'm tell you days I'm green, so on and so forth. So, you know, just try to keep it as real as we can on the show. And I have no problem getting called out or anything at any time. I'll explain my trades, whatever you guys want at any time. So, and like I said, like Neil just said, you know, we are working on trying to figure out different methods to show you guys, but I think it's working. It's worked to this far, 300,000 subscribers, and, you know, 30,000 views a day doesn't, you know, say we're doing anything wrong, but we are always trying to improve. So I'm going to say thank you, although I know that person was probably trying to be negative when they first talked about that, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to spin that around and give you the truth.
Yeah, good stuff. Well said. Let's go on to, I mean, a positive market right now, guys. Overall, we're trying to hold anyways above the break-even mark, but plenty of time to go in this afternoon. Still a very, very headline-sensitive market. Was going to mention we have Danielle Shea coming up here in about a half an hour. We'll get her take on, you know, where we are, how to kind of position yourself during this time of extreme volatility and extreme headline-driven sensitivity. So coming up about a half an hour for Miss Shea from Simpler Trading. Retail, we talked about Best Buy. I wanted to touch on Kroger here. Brought this up in the pre-market this morning. What a move for Kroger. I had a question mark on the would it get to all-time highs today? Answer yes, and then some. 11.2% here. We're holding up nicely at basically session highs here, just 55.5 up there. But nice move today for KR.
This was a tough one because I think there was a point in the morning show where we were talking about like what you're looking for individual symbols, and in this particular case, let's find something breaking into a new range, and it's going to gap through it. So there's not too much you can do about it because when we sit down, like this gap up, that's, you know, this is 8:15, sort of 8:30 or so when we're already trading up here very, very early in the pre-market, and then you make the breakout from up there. So, you know, obviously breaking a new range, it did qualify for that. I had an idea that there was going to be a bit of a pullback, thinking there'd be profit takers on Kroger, and you'd get a pullback sort of in front of that 50 area where it was breaking out on the daily chart. That thesis was obviously 100% wrong, and about the only trade you had was to simply take the consolidation break from the pre-market levels. And sometimes, you know, the best you can do when you miss out on something like this because you're looking for, oh yeah, they're going to break this level. I've seen it a million times. I don't want to short that, but when it breaks down, I'll wait for it to settle and see if I can pick something up, anticipating a rug pull in that spot, and it only goes up. And there's not much you can do in terms of the long. I would have loved it off of this. When the market was coming down, sort of midday at lunchtime, if it had held this 54.20 level, oddly enough, then that would have been a pretty good long opportunity if it could have based out there, but then that got broken, so you're then waiting for it to get back down to 53. And sometimes there's never a setup for you. And I do prefer Best Buy for the short off the top than Kroger. I think Kroger's report was better. So I think you're fighting the news a little bit less. It was more of the mixed report in Best Buy spot than it was for Kroger. So I might not have a trade in it today. It's super, super strong. I would not necessarily be fighting this one if it tries to go higher. It's in rarefied air, new territory. That's what you're looking out for.
Yeah, I didn't look at Kroger, and obviously it was going to be a missed opportunity because it's been crazy. I did talk about Target off the open, and that was maybe something to look at if it did break above yesterday's high, which was right there, and that's exactly what it did. It was hovering around there in the pre-market, and then the market, I mean, with little volume, and we opened up higher right there than this 226. It takes that as a key level, rips all the way to 229-ish right there, and we actually were also talking about the 228 level, which held before breaking, and then when the 226, and this is another play that we should always look for, really, and it doesn't have to be in the reporting stock, in any stock. When a name, you know, has this run and then consolidation like this up here, as you can see between 228 and 229, when it takes out that pre-market level right there, I feel like that opens up the floodgates for this move down. So we'll have to watch out for that. We've done a similar play on Coinbase. We tried to do it on Snowflake today as well. And Snowflake's a positive day there, so if anyone's wondering. But right there, that 228 was a good level, but it's this break right here of 226.50, I guess it is, on this pre-market high. That's the break that sent it down for Target. So as Kroger goes, we knew Target would get a bump today. They had a great report as well. So it's nice to see that they're up on the day 0.31 as opposed to the market down 0.7. So Target would have been the play for me because I missed Kroger, but what a great run that was for KR. I'll talk about AMD, but that's next, Brendo.
Yeah, I wanted to mention some of the chip names because, yeah, no bounce. I put on the board there, no bounce this afternoon. NVIDIA specifically came into, some areas from yesterday and tried, but here we go again, guys. Back to lows, essentially, for a lot of these chip makers right now.
So, back to lows already. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm shorted. My wishing it goes back down to the very low, but you are right, Brendan. We are at lows here for AMD. And yeah, so today, this is the ability that we have here at Day Trade the World. And again, guys, thank you for watching and thank you for respecting the trades and things like that. I was long early, and we wrote it down actually on, I believe it's on the sticky note, yeah, that we wanted to wait for that 113.50 key level. So 113.50, I think it must be on the 20-minute here. Yeah, it's right into here. So if you look at this 20-minute chart, you can see this 113.50 area right in here. It dipped down to 112.80. So we were like, let's see if 113.50 can hold. And again, it's just a random number. It's more about yesterday's bottom. So that's the kind of levels that we were looking at the close there, this little level. Actually, that's 2 days ago now, 2 days ago, because we had that's right, yesterday we had that 113 wick right there. So that's where the bottom comes from yesterday, right here. We had this doubled up twice. This was my #1 stock yesterday. We had it once and got out. Then we had it again and took it all the way to the upside. It wasn't all the way, but we had that. So that's that 113.50. My bad on that. So we wanted to try that again. So as it comes in, this is the mistake that I'm always making every single day, and I promise you at some point I'll stop. Like, why am I going long at 114.50 then here? Makes no sense. So we take those longs, and we're able to get some out, but we did hold it all the way to the bottom, and this is where we started averaging in, because here comes 113.50 again, right here. But it takes it out. And this is where we're just kind of battling for our dear life, because we have a big loss here because we've averaged in. But then we take these bottoms against that 112.80 level, but then it breaks right there. So AMD, if you're asking, it's going to be a negative stock for me today because we're averaged in there and we take out that very bottom. Then we go long again, out, out, out. Out again for the loss. And then I'm like, look how hard going long is all the time. So we finally decide to wait for these tops again at 114, and then we take the short once it breaks back down below and able to cash out there 50 cents and then out there $1, and now we'll wait for these very bottoms on AMD. It's just a shame. It's down another 4%. Are we going to respect that 100 level or not? We will wait to see, but AMD and the chip names continue to get beat up almost every day. So you got to wait until you come in on the open and you're up like 3 or 4%, something like that, because they keep getting beat down. Like, we started the day at 119. You're at 113 right now. So I don't know. These chip names, they don't have much there. I haven't looked at anything else other than AMD today. So it just remains weak, and I'm going to try to stay short until we break this 114.
At least you shorted it, man. So
at some point.
The sad thing about AMD, and I won't get into it too much, and I won't even use it for my frustrating stock, even though it's my worst one today, is I at least followed my rules. Like, I'll go back and say I had the longs at the two places I liked, and they were just both wrong, and then I took my stop out each time. So the problem there wasn't with me being stubborn or executing. I was just dead wrong about it being a long. And it's weird that I would look at the same setup for a couple of times in the last few weeks on something like a square. You get a bottom like this, you get a recent downward trend, right? So you get double top, big capitulation, you try to make a bounce off of that level, and then you get this tight consolidation, and then at the open, you get the pop into the previous high. Remember, capitulation, pop into the previous high, and then a rollover. So I'll look at sometimes like Square, or I look at Affirm, or there's a lot of names, or I'd just be saying, yeah, that's a short setup. I'll take that at 930 every single time. But for whatever reason, when it's in the chip space, I won't do it. So that's probably a little bit of a bias, I would say, to strength in the chip names or just liking the companies, whatever it might be. I end up always looking for those support levels to try to go long instead of just looking at a short setup. Like, if Virgin Galactic had this exact same chart, I'm probably shorting this move 10 times out of 10. And that's just, And that's nothing wrong with that. Like, you can prefer certain names on weakness than others, but it also might mean that you should have caution. If you see something that looks like a setup that's positive for you and it's to the short side, should at least be second guessing how many swings I want to take at it to the long side, even if I like the levels, right? Like, something about it is telling me that I think it can be weak. Sometimes you just have to listen to that, even if you like the stock, even if you like the setup, because guess what's also an alternative? To not trade AMD today and just trade some of the other names. There's plenty out there to look at, and I just like trading AMD, so I've done it most of the week. But yeah, this was clearly not the best one. And even as the market gets back up, like we said, to some key levels bouncing here, it's not getting off the schneid. I don't know what that means for Marvell earnings tonight, but I've been worried about those earnings all week after Ambarella, and this doesn't make me feel all that much better.
Definitely hasn't been a good week, to put it lightly, for earnings. I was just having a look at the U.S. 10-year, guys. The bank stocks have been basically following the moves in the 10-year all week long. It was higher initially and then got all the way down here to 1.69 on the Russia-Ukraine fears. We're chopping around, kind of going sideways. This isn't an hourly chart for the U.S. 10-year. But overall, the banking group has remained quite weak, both today and yesterday.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could have also chosen Citigroup as the trade of the day. I mean, and again, like, this is what we do. And I love talking the markets with everybody, and I also love sharing, the plays that we have with everybody. And that's what brought me to doing this, man, the sticky note. And here it is right here. We thought banks would be short today. It looks like we're going to be right. Citigroup short at 60. If not, take that 58.50 break. So, I mean, it's right here. I'll share this with you. If you are on it, follow at TraderTV Sean for every morning trade ideas. And that's it. It's just literally trade ideas for you every single morning. You can see if you like them or not, and then ask me and join us every morning at 8:30, and I'll try to explain why I like said position. But here's Citigroup. Nice move here to the downside. And again, we didn't keep it all, but we still have a piece. We're waiting to see what happens. We short, reload the short again on the 50 period when it bumps back up, taking out some of these levels. So these shorts that's the 58.50. That's the short early, 58.70. This is the reload at 58.80. And now you're at 57. So no matter what, the worst of these trades is now $1 in the money. And we did make this bottom at 57 flat. I'm actually now bidding 57.40, but I'm going to cancel that in case the market actually does start to come down a little bit here. We'll wait to see, but the reason why yesterday, why I like Citigroup short today, was because look at this monster move it made yesterday. It went up 3 straight dollars from this bottom. It started off nasty. Then, of course, Powell came out and saved the day. We talked about that. He talked about only quarter point as opposed to the half point. So it's a straight move to the upside right here, up to $60 yesterday. And honestly, Citigroup, I've read enough about the banks. This is supposed to be the worst one as far as capitalization is concerned. I mean, there's WFC as well, but a money center bank, $56 all the way up to 60. Just thought that was too big of a move. It's $4 on 50. It was up like 7% yesterday. And then all of a sudden today, it came and someone downgraded it. So I was like, you know what? If you're going to downgrade the bank, there's more talk here today, more sanctions. You see the ruble, yada, yada, the Russian SWIFT, all this stuff. And now you could see that $60 was going to be, an area of concern. We didn't have to get up to that. We shorted it, and now Bob's your uncle, as they say. We're going to hold the last little bit of Citigroup. I just believed in the short today. Obviously not enough to hold it all the way to the bottom, but my style is scalping, and Citigroup is actually, now that I look at it, is my number one stock today. So there it is. Citigroup, my number one stock, and still holding on to a piece.
Yeah, Citigroup, that level on the daily chart, I use that for a couple of scalp bounces, but it couldn't follow through when the short was that good today, like Sean said. I want to go to IMPP here. I know this just happened, and I don't know why it didn't halt. I'm going to guess it just barely missed 10% there in the allotted time. But someone asked, I'm surprised, Neil, you weren't shorting IMPP. This morning I did, twice. The first time worked. The second time, I almost made the top wick. Not quite. Somebody beat me by 4 cents and bought it up here. But that's me. I got stopped out right here. Second time through. I did not go back to the well. Probably a mistake at that particular time. It was right around lunch. I actually know that I was not on my desk at that point, but it just made the rollover now, not a name that I was getting into. I'm in 3 current shorts, as you can see here. Actually 4 if you count NUAN, which you shouldn't because it's a buyout. Yeah, so I was in enough trades and wasn't really hunting for anything else, but I didn't see anything in particular. This is like a triple or quadruple top, and it could just be right? It finally rolling through. Like, this is what I kind of expected to happen around this 250 level. You had the head and shoulders from before. It grinds into it. I thought it was going to capitulate, and eventually it did. So I feel like there'd be way more volume if this was an offering, but I don't actually know. So just tread lightly on this. I think after this happens, I would only be shorting it on any pop, probably looking back to this 235 level if it can get there and then consolidate. I think that would make some sense. But I don't know if I'd be going long this name unless it's, you know, maybe you get $2 or I knew what actually happened. But it looks like it just resisted the halt by going 10%. Or going just 10%, or maybe it was just past like the 5 minutes or something like that. But it came very close.
I could show you, or at least give you a thought. Anyways, guys, we just had a decent move anyways in crude oil. Crude oil just tanked, in fact, into the end of the electronic session, which wraps up at 2:30. That's hence the volume there that comes in at 2:30. So this is INDO. Neil was showing you IMPP. So INDO just did the same thing. Just got absolutely smacked, down a couple of bucks there. Remember, 1.5 million share float on INDO. So if you're looking at those crazy little energy stocks, there's BOR, BORR. There's USWS as well. Just be careful with those oil with a bit of a move there, guys, into the end of the electronic session. All right, I didn't put frustrating stocks up there today, but let's do some, shall we? Because there was a lot to digest this morning, I guess, as we headed towards the open. Let's do some frustrations today.
I mean, for me, it's going to be plain and simple, and it's a stock that that dude tried to call me out on, and it's basically Ford.
Oh, I can't.
And I mean, it is what it is going to be here today. I was super excited about Ford, and I even said at the beginning of the day, there's no way this thing, not that there's no way, but that I just didn't think it was going to break $18. And then off the open, it was just like, what the hell is $18? And it just took it all the way to the downside and just kept on going. It fell instantly all the way to the downside. I'm going to actually, you know what? I'm going to take off all these fills, just so you can see how ridiculous it is and why this was a problem. So I'm going to take these fills out here just to show you what I was talking about. So here's the move all the way down, right? Here's where consolidation starts. This is where I should have started to be building my position. And then when it broke, we could have said, okay, now we can get out and take literally a 10-cent hit and then regroup down here. The reason why it's frustrating is, again, because I can show you the sticky note where we talked about that, you know, 1850, that doesn't come today, so we don't have to worry. But the 1720 support, those are the levels that we were looking at. So if I drop this back down here and look at a 20-minute chart, I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is 1720 right here. It goes back all the way to early February, and then even 17 bottom goes all the way back to February 8th. And so there's a lot of there's a lot of support, I feel like, down here near 17. And as I look, and maybe now I'll zoom this back out a little bit, as I look here, there's really nothing in the middle here. I mean, like 1750, maybe right here, back on the 18th, there's a level, but it didn't matter anything here. It didn't matter this day. It didn't matter this day, and it was the top here, so there was resistance, not support. And so, I don't know. I should have respected these levels a little bit more and then just been honest with myself and waited for this collapse to stop. And I mean, like, why am I going long when we're not even considering breaking this 50 period? I should have waited down here until 1750 when we broke it to the upside and actually gone long there, because then, you know, it comes right back into this consolidation area and we're able to get out. Instead, guys, I'm just like, let me see here. I'll put on my fills here. And then this is the craziest part about it. And when you're in the moment, you don't, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, you know, sometimes zoom back out, calm down, relax, look at your positions. I was trying to do it. But see, like right here, absorb, absorb, absorb. We started to buy it in, but unfortunately we had these longs still in here. Should have dropped it out, but instead we held all the way to the bottom until you see this little wick here, 1750. That's where we took out a big piece, right here. And then we're like, no. We sat down, the market finally started to turn, and that's where we put on a big position down here and then just got it all out at VWAP, or sorry, at that point it was the 50 period, and then held the rest all the way to the upside. We have 1 million outs up here, way over trading Ford. But just so you guys know, we did make back more than half. We made back more than half of what we lost on that move because, look, it came right back in, and this is where we saved a lot of our ammunition for. Got not most of it out, but a lot of it out up here, sub 1780 or just around, sorry, greater than 1775, but sub 1780, right into here. So, yep. And now I have 3% left or less than that of the position that we had down here, just waiting for Ford to come back to 1750, where we'll reload it. But it's my most frustrating stock because I just have way too many executions on this. 92 executions. It's way too many considering we had it pegged. So lesson learned. We don't need to like die on a sword. Just wait for it to finally make that final cut and then get back in there.
Well, a few things. First, INDO current is halted, volatility halt, 5 or 10 minutes usually. 1897, the current indicated open, which is exactly where it halted. So we'll keep monitoring that. So the trade of the day was frustrating. It was Rivian. I can't use that. I already showed you AMD, which is my worst stock today, so I'm not going to use that. And then Ford is my next worst stock. But actually, the most frustrating is a bit of a different reason: NCLH. In our morning prep, and remember when I wanted the bid on Kroger for it to come back down, and on NCLH, you know, at least this time I didn't do the pop and fade trade, but I really liked the support level down around 1820 or so, just based on what happened in the capitulation bottom, it holding and breaking out, and then I saw that lower high. It's like, if it gets into that range, you know, I kind of like the cruise lines better than the airlines. Let's take a long if it goes in. So it comes into that level. I give it no chance to figure things out. I go long, it breaks that bottom, and it stops out. Like, there's no nuance. There's no allowing me to see what happens when it gets down there. I just get in and get out and don't even think about the trade more than taking a long, putting a stop order, and then not looking at it again, which is just sloppy, right? Like, and the problem was at that time of day, it took so long to come in. And by that time, I was into trading so many other things that one of the things that was in the open thesis, being patient for, I didn't take advantage of. The same concept in Rivian ended up being a good bounce. And I didn't do it here in NCLH. I just, you know, took the hit when it was completely unnecessary. It barely broke that level, you know, by like a cent or two, and it's nonsensical, right? Like, you look at a setup like that, and it's like, what are you even doing if you're not willing to give it a couple of extra pennies there? So that's why it's frustrating for me, NCLH. Brennan?
Coming up with your own trading strategy is one of the most frustrating parts of when you first start trading. We're going to tell you a few tips in this video, guys, on how we can simplify this and make this easier. So let's go. 3 tips coming your way on how to build your own trading strategy.
I was going to say, keep it simple, stupid. But look,
that's mine.
I know. But like, you want your first strategies to be quantifiable, right? Like, you want it to be something that you can easily replicate. Identify the rules so that when you're record keeping and trying to actually back and forward test your idea, what you've got to do, it's something that's not too ambiguous, or you can make up nuances for it. So that's why I'm going to use an example here, something pretty simplistic. And I know sometimes these seems overly simplistic, and it's like, oh, it can't be that easy. But it's just to demonstrate a point. So a few things here, and I'll point out a small cap. A couple of things you have on a daily chart. You have this clearly breaking out, right? Like, here's the bottom end of the range. This is your 200 period, your 50 period, breaking out on both of those 2 time frames already. I'm going to get into talking about it here. And you have a nice consolidation range, right? So you have a clear path that you can say, yes, it's got a bottom channel. It has been in a bit of a downward trend. It's breaking out on both major moving averages. It's already done the break, so you're not worried about that. I'm not talking about guessing and capturing this. It then, in the last session, consolidates at the top. Right? So there's your consolidation at the top. And then the next morning, you come in this morning as we do this, and you have a consolidation right at those same levels. This sets up for a trade of a simple breakout. It's take the top end of the consolidation, give it to the bottom end, whether you want to use the pre-market today or the bottom of the channel the day before, either or, that's for you to be able to test. But that's something that has a few key points to it. You're picking one direction. I'm only going to try long strategies, right? Like, work on the shorts later, or whichever one you want to start with. A lot of times start with longs if you're just starting out. And then that's your trade. You can easily back and forward test it, find the stocks that fall into that pattern, and then you keep it relatively simple. And, you know, don't try to jump from, oh, I'm doing that breakout trade, but then I'm also doing this by the dip. No, when you start out, pick one thing, stick with it, make sure it's easy to quantify, and go from there.
So that's a great point. I'm going to almost do the same thing here, but I'm going to talk about stock-specific names. And I think that once you've identified what works for you, as far as like maybe levels breaking or a strategy like Neil was just talking about there, I feel like in the beginning, when you're building a strategy, at least this is what's worked for me, stay on the same names or stay on a same similar topic, right? Like when earnings are popping off or there's big news about something, you have to trade those names. You don't have to trade them, but you have to look at them. And I would use Neil's strategies there, his kind of tips to say, okay, now what stocks might this work on, right? Because you're going to need to have names that have volume behind them, which leads me to what I want to talk about right here. And that is, honestly, it's just my sticky note. And I started it because of the simple reason that I wanted everybody to understand what I'm looking at every single day. And I'm just going to go quickly through this. I don't expect you guys to see this at all, because I know it's hard to see. But like today's sticky note, Ford, Rivian, AMD, Citigroup, right? Yesterday's sticky note, look, watch. Ford, AMC, Rivian, SoFi, right? Why is SoFi on there? Earnings, right? Why is Rivian on there? They had that price increase. News. Look at what a cute guy. Here he is. There he is, Trader Pratt. Okay, the day before that, what's on here? Lucid, the same thing as the day before. SoFi's on here. AMC's on there. Look at the similar names. Scroll down to the day before that. Lucid, Palantir, AMC, WFC, right? Scroll down again and again and again. Down onto here, Palantir, AMD, Microsoft, Facebook. So those of you, that watch the show kind of understand what I'm getting at here. And that is very, very simple, is stay with your simple strategies like Neil was talking about, things that you've backtested, things that you've worked on, but then try to stay in your lane. You'll hear me say, I don't really want to trade energy names because I'm not familiar with the relationship between, what the NASDAQ is going to do versus the oil market versus the equity. So I'm going to stay away from those. But as you can see on that list, I'm comfortable trading AMC, I'm comfortable trading Microsoft, Palantir, some of those other names that are on there. So I would say when you're building up strategies, don't jump from this name to that name to this name to that name. Have a basket of stocks that you like to trade and reasons why you're going to trade those. So that's how I would keep it simple.
Fantastic points. I'll add to both of them in the sense of keep track, keep accurate records so that you can build your confidence. If nothing more, having a track record of how your trading is going gives you confidence to continue in that direction. If you see then a problem arising from your records, that's when you have to adjust the strategy. So a few tips there, guys, on how you can not only build a strategy, but fine-tune it once you have it. So we were talking about that INDO. It did reopen and has done absolutely nothing since it did reopen. So a big flush down to 19 there for INDO. This thing has gone so far, so fast in literally a week. Is that a week? Yeah, a week and a couple of days here. It went from 460. We touched $25 this morning. So long way to go back down if it wants to get going here for INDO.
Well, should have held on to that short. Like, look, I already showed you so many times when you have this counter trend trade and you get a top like that. And I said this morning, I was actually looking for longs on INDO this morning. And again, never found my way into them because it just couldn't get to the price that I wanted. And it happens. Only going to short it at 25. It double topped at 25. I put the old first level retracement trade. You get 25 down to 23. I mean, it looks terrible now because the stock went to $18. But that's the thing. Like, I've just simply found when I get greedy on a parabolic mover, right? So you have one of these, and like if you get the top and it's come so far, like from $4 to 25, you always want to get that $5, $10 halt down trade and want to be in it. What I've just found over doing these is when I try to get that, I just always end up getting burned because the times when it's wrong and I try to hold for the home run, I make nothing and lose everything. And the times when I'm more conservative going against the trend and just take the W, well then when this doesn't work, well I've gotten some out for $1 here. And when it breaks the top, I actually sometimes don't even lose anything. And when you take it all out here and it doesn't do the big capitulation, sometimes I'm just trailing it out and giving it all back at the high. So I've just sort of found over time that when I do the more conservative trade up the high, you just have the better win rate and it works. It looks terrible in the aftermath when it flushes like this, but them's the breaks, man. It's the equivalent of getting that top wick, right? Like sometimes you're going to make the top wick. But if you're not willing to do that, well then the day DWAC goes to 150 and you were trying to short it, well guess what? Your career's over. So I'd rather be conservative with plays like that and actually be able to take the W on stocks like this than always try to hit that home run because some days someone hits that short on DWAC and they just sort of go into it the whole time. But what if you guessed wrong and started too early? Like you get blown away. And I know that happened to people that were probably trading in GameStop and whatnot. Sometimes you can't fight the trend too hard. By the way, with the market moving down, just to go over some of the positions, I'm actually in DWAC short. I know I mentioned this in the chat to a couple of people. We're sort of talking while we were going over things, and now I've done that. There we go. I'm in the short on DWAC. Just looking at this lower consolidation, it made it 98. It also did a bit of a fail break there. Every single day, the last 2 or 3 sessions, it's made these like flushes in the afternoon. And I scalped some out there and then said, you know, I want to be in this a little bit more. I was about to take out a 96.5. I said, look, either it breaks the high or it does another capitulation and gives me the low of the day. So I'm not on the bid in front of the low, but that's the play. I've seen it happen so many times that I just want to take advantage of it. And then SoFi, which I was trying to earlier, I actually tried to go long off 11. There was a big size, 100,000 shares sitting on the bid. I got long at 03s. It immediately broke that size. It almost like didn't care. It made a double bottom. I just said, I want to be shorting around this level. So it broke 11, got to 11.10 or so, twice, double top. And with the downward trend that it's been in, I said, forget about fighting the trend. I just want to short off of this level, and I've been rolling it into the low of the day, which it's about to take with the market coming down. At this point, I'm holding through the low of the day. I want to hold the DWAC short. I want to hold the SoFi short. I have CTIC off of the $4 level. That feels like it might take out the high, but everything looks like it's coming back in here. The market hit that key level on the ES and has been plummeting.
Yeah, and that's, we talked about exactly that reason on why we were holding AMD. So we'll go, mamma mia, because here goes AMD, right back down to the bottom side of things right here. We were nervous. I mean, every day I sit here and I'm like, okay, the market's gonna crash. And then the last couple of days, it's only ripped into the close. So today we'll seek a little bit of revenge here and see if this can hold. The bottom right now is this 112.40. So, I mean, the real bottom is 112.15, but we're just on this bottom right now for AMD. I don't know. The market doesn't look like it wants to give anything back. So we will. It's giving everything back, but not back up to the upside. So we'll wait to see where we go from here. But I'm going to hold on to AMD. But again, remember what I said in the chat, like, you know, trade your own account. I've already taken this out twice, so I only have a third left. If I had pieces left, like if this wasn't part of the strategy to hold this, then I would think that if you're still in something here and you have 1,000 shares, 100 shares, 20 shares, I would take something out here. We're at a nice little bottom. The market has made a move back down in, so I would say pay yourself a little bit here if you are short AMD. I still think it breaks or I'd get out, but this is a spot here where, again, that crystal ball sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. I would definitely watch this for AMD right now. Brendan.
All right, guys, as promised, Miss Danielle Shea joining us from Simpler Trading, VP of Options at Simpler Trading on a Thursday afternoon, as per usual. Great to have you, Danielle. It's a crazy week, obviously. Still a lot of volatility, still a lot of, as we said, headline-sensitive markets to deal with this week. We'll get into that in a second. I want to talk a little bit about energy markets first off. If you're looking at oil in the pre-market this morning, you had to go all the way back to 2008 to find the last time it was trading at these levels. So huge run up, obviously. A lot of people asking questions on the short side. It's very easy, you know, when you get these extended moves to lean to the short side and say, oh, it's gone up too much. What do we do? It must, you know, be coming back. Yes, today we're down a little bit, but we got to be cautious here. How are you approaching this?
Sure, of course. Well, I'd love to show you my chart here. So following XLE, I mean, people have been asking me the same thing too. You know, hey, is it time to short energy, time to short oil? Honestly, that to me, that trade is just going to have so much to do with OPEC and the ongoing geopolitical issues that I feel like it's not just something you can take on a technical basis. If you look at the technical charts on XLE, yes, we're extended. I mean, I had a target at 72. I had a target at 75. Yes, we are starting to roll over. Yes, we are breaking the low. Oh, no, wait, not quite. Look at that. So close to breaking yesterday's low. If you really want to do it, then you have to do it by looking at a candlestick pattern. You want to see a break of the low of the previous day's candle, and you want to see a high volume follow through. Personally, for me, I don't want to step in front of that freight train. I would rather look at a couple different tickers within energy. For example, Marathon Petroleum. This one right here. Let's see if I can get my charts to load, but there we go. So, for example, Marathon Petroleum, this one has a really nice trend on the daily chart. We've pulled back to the 34 EMA. We're squeezing, we're consolidating. I mean, I would personally rather go with the trend in energy and try to trade this one up into 85 over the course of the next couple weeks than short and run into that freight train. But that's just me.
Until it isn't, right? That's, I mean, you know, it's very simple. It's a very simple way of approaching it, but it does, you know, keep you out of a lot of trouble if you think about it. Let's shift gears here and talk a little bit about the overall markets, because we've had, you know, these headlines coming across almost on a daily basis. Even today, you know, again, we get the move back to the upside on some, you know, what seems to be positive movement as far as this Russia and Ukraine turmoil, I guess is a good word, considers to be. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about the indexes here. You know, where are we? What are you looking at? And where do we go from here?
The indexes are incredibly weak. Anytime we get any kind of even slightly positive news, we'll rally just ever so slightly, just enough to get short sellers to cover. Last week, the positive price action, that was just all short covering. That wasn't really, you know, buyers coming out of the woodwork and trying to buy this correction. And so what you really have to pay attention to as a trader is, number one, I mean, you can definitely buy a short squeeze higher. There's nothing wrong with that. If there's a news related gap higher and the put call ratio is really high and everyone's short, yes, you can go in there and you can buy that rally. But you have to understand that those rallies are not following through at all. And so what you don't want to get confused on is you don't want to say, oh my gosh, the market went up for 2 days. Let me just go all in long, because the momentum's just not really there and it keeps rolling over. So what I've been focusing on doing is I've been actually focusing on fading the moves, which is different for me because normally I am a momentum trader. But in this market, trying to go with the momentum because it flips so quickly is just the wrong thing to do.
Buy the dip was the theme, I think, of the past, you know, decade, it seems like anyways. But it also seems like things have changed to a point where
yes,
that is definitely not working as well as it has once. Earnings starting to wrap up here. We're getting to, you know, the end of earnings season. Costco, the big one coming after market tonight. I want to also talk about Snowflake, because you had a great little piece on Twitter that you spoke about Snowflake. So let's talk Costco first, because we have an opportunity in front of us. How are you going to play this tonight?
Sure. So in this market environment, because the VIX is so high, when you look at tickers like Costco that are fundamentally strong, this company is just not one that normally moves a lot on earnings. If you look at this grid right here, this shows the amount that Costco will gap overnight on earnings. On average, it will only move between 1% and 2%. However, because the VIX is so high, they're pricing in about a $23 move. And so when you're looking at where this thing could potentially end up, I mean, it could either be between 510 or 550. Now, for me as an options trader, when I have a ticker that is pretty stable, historically, statistically, doesn't move more than 2%, for me, that's a great opportunity to come in and sell premium. I can sell calls on Costco and puts, because if you look at the way that it reacts to earnings normally, you know, half the time it's up, half the time it's down, but nothing much really happens. And so that's a good opportunity for me to come in the options market and make a neutral trade. So I haven't put my trade on yet, but what I was looking at was I was probably going to be selling the 535 calls and puts, and then I will buy some outer wings within the expected move, so about $25 wide.
Great name. Obviously, a lot of people, you know, love the stock as a long-term play. Anyways, love going to Costco as well. So should be interesting to see how that plays out tonight. Let's talk snow in the sense that we've had this trend, it seems. And I even mentioned it today because they started buying up Costco right at the open this morning, going into the report, and it's been that way over the past couple of days. We've seen, you know, a lot of positive momentum into earnings, only for the opposite to end up happening.
Yes, and normally I'm going to trade the positive momentum going into earnings. That's one of my favorite trades that I like to do every quarter. But this quarter, the tickers that have done that, like Ulta and Costco, have been so few and far between. And the newest pattern that has just been really in focus for me is watching for earnings destruction. So I threw up my watch list here. This is actually the watch list that I made at the beginning of this week. So I'll make another one for next week. But all of these companies fit the criteria very similar to Snow. And these are companies that I was not looking for them to rally going into earnings. I was actually looking for them to fall going into earnings. And the reason for that is because they all fit a specific pattern. What you're looking for is you're looking for a stock that rallied exponentially, last year and the year before. And then what ended up happening was the cracks started to show between last quarter and the quarter before that. We started getting a couple earnings reports that would send the stock exponentially lower. And so because of that pattern, you have people in those stocks that have bought up at just ridiculous highs, and they're sitting there and they're saying, oh my gosh, please do not let this thing, do a Facebook or a Roku. And they want to bail before earnings. So you can look to trade these tickers before earnings. We've got Snow down 17%, VEVE down 17%, GRWG down another almost 10%. And so I do think, especially for all y'all as day traders, it does provide a lot of opportunity to come in and look for post-earnings moves or even moves going into earnings, because this pattern right here is something that's been coming through really well this quarter. And when you look at a stock and think, can it possibly go lower? The answer is yes, it can. And earnings can be the catalyst for that.
Thank you so much, Danielle. This is why we love having you on the show, to give that perspective, because it's another opportunity for our traders to learn. But I want to kind of switch gears with you a little bit, because we get you on to share your expertise. We always have viewers that are joining us maybe for the first time, or they're just starting out in the markets. So being an expert in options, there are a lot of people that always say, okay, well, I want to get into options, but I don't really understand the basics. What are the first steps? Like, what would you tell somebody that maybe they have a little bit of experience in trading equities, maybe they've done some swing trading, whatever it might be. But what are the first steps? What should they read? What are the first things they should look at before they even consider making an execution?
Well, that's a great question. So I actually have a book coming out about that in the summer. It's not out yet, but we can talk about that at a later point. But these are the things that you need to do. Number one, a lot of people want to get into options just because they want extra leverage, right? And so the number one thing that you have to do is you have to hone your ability to read patterns, because just like with trading stocks, trading options is the exact same. You have to hone your ability to trade patterns. You have to be able to recognize when you should get in and out. And then after that, what you want to focus on with option strategies is, what would you like to do? Would you like to trade in a neutral manner? Like I was just talking about with Costco, where you say, hey, you know what? I don't really care if the thing goes up or down. I just want to sell premium, because I know in the options market, premium is a very unique thing that I can take advantage of. And I don't care if it goes up or down. I just want to sell it today and I want to buy it back tomorrow. Or do you want to be the kind of options trader that says, you know what, I think Zoom is going to go to $100 and I want to figure out the best strategy that I can use for that. Now, most people get into options trading because they want to trade in a directional manner. So what that means is that you should start off with the patterns, and then next you should figure out which kind of strategies will work best for you in a directional manner. That's going to be calls, puts, credit spreads, and debit spreads. But what I always recommend to people, study calls and puts first, move on to debit spreads, then move on to credit spreads. That's, you want to do it in order, because that's the way that it's going to make the most sense. And once you understand how you can use those strategies, then the most important thing to do is to start practicing them in paper trade. Please do not jump into a market like this, with your real money when you're not sure how to use the strategies. The best thing I think for people is to start off by paper trading, so you can see how they really work out. And then you can hone your strategies after that.
Danielle, and maybe we'll get a free copy, Sean and I, of the book when it comes out.
Of course.
I kid, but thank you.
Can you come to me here quickly? Yeah, hey Danielle, what's up? Yeah, if we get a free copy, I want mine signed.
Well,
so that's
okay.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, and then I'll sign a little coffee cup for you. How does that sound, Danielle?
That sounds awesome.
All right. And you're invited here next time when you get a chance to come out to Toronto. You can come see our trading floor. We had some guests on there yesterday, so good stuff. Thanks, Daniel Shea. Back to Brendan.
Love that. I don't want to take up too much of your time, Danielle. Let's get your thoughts going into next week. Going to be an important week for the overall market and for inflation, for the Fed. We'll talk a little bit about this maybe next week when you come on, but give me, one or two initial thoughts, I guess, going into, again, on the 10th, guys, we're going to get the CPI reading, the latest reading on inflation, and then that'll be, of course, followed by the Fed coming up on the 15th.
So, I mean, this month is just ripe with catalysts, right? It's just, first of all, we're in a very weak situation with the indexes. We're not seeing the dip buyers come through at all. We have been below the 200 simple on the S&P for almost over 2 weeks now. Every move up into resistance has not been able to make it through. So when you have that situation, and then you also have these catalysts, which I can't imagine they're going to be good catalysts. I can't imagine that the inflation numbers are going to be good. So let's say I'm wrong. Let's say the inflation numbers are so much better, then yes, maybe we could get a short squeeze rally. But I can't imagine they're going to be a positive catalyst. I imagine that they continue to send the markets lower. As far as the Fed, we did get a little bit of a reprieve there just because Jerome Powell did speak yesterday. And we did hear from him that it's most likely going to be a quarter-point rate hike, and they are going to take the situation in Russia into consideration. So I do think that was positive news for the market, but that move has already faded. So at this point, unless they do anything completely different, like not raising rates at all, I just can't imagine that it's a positive catalyst for the market.
On both, obviously, coming up next week, Danielle Shea, VP of Options at Simpler Trading. We appreciate your time, as always. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
See you next week. Good stuff. Lots of ideas there, guys, going into the final hour of the day.
Absolutely, and perfect, and it should be a lot of fun. You never stop learning. That's the reason we love Danielle as a guest, because it's something that, obviously Sean and I trade, and Brendan and Arun and Trader Prad, we're all trading equities, right? So a lot of people are looking for options for the extra volatility to make some coin, and it's great to have Danielle on there. While all this was happening, so we're back to almost to 14,000 on the NASDAQ and the ES turnaround. But one thing, finally, it took a few days, but we'll hit the Superman because we're sitting in DWAC. It's like, look, I'm going to just sit in this one in the afternoon for the capitulation, and eventually it's going to do it for me. And I have not been in the short usually. Today, it does go down. Remember I talked about the low of the day, 96? It flushed just near the end of the interview there. I was able to get out in front of 96. You would have seen it disappear from my position board. The market is still making fresh lows. SoFi did break the low of the day. It's not really going anywhere at this point, but the trend is working to the downside. And it's one of those, I get it. It bounced off that low, but that doesn't mean it has to be a long, right? We've seen this happen over and over again. You can catch that bottom, get it up to VWAP, but for me, that was a fade given how weak it's been over the last couple of days. And I'll also show you, this is what we came into earnings. It went right into that resistance at 1350 that it needed to break and the 50 period, and it just rolled over from there. And when that happens, and then you break this floor, like this is that 11 to 11.15 floor, that's the breakout. It could not maintain that floor. I understand that it got a little bit of a bottom here, but once this goes, that becomes a short to me. And that's why we're shorting the pop in SoFi. I know a lot of people will hold this one, and hopefully it can hold like 10 or 10.50, but there's a lot of names that are, the market's not that bad. I know it's just turned red. We're 1.5 today, but there's a lot of names on my quote board that are 6 to 10% down, or like Virgin Galactic 11%. It's more than you think. I know we're down 1.5 on the market, but there are a lot of the high flyer names that look pretty bad. Tesla's down almost 5%, and now $10 below that 850 mark and still falling. It's starting to get a bit ugly here, so I don't have any longs that I like. I'm holding SoFi short. CTIC doesn't seem to want to go down. And for those of you that are watching INDO, big bounce in INDO. Maybe just, oh goodness, there you go, .am, and now it doesn't want to. Anyways, this is not going to load. INDO just bounced up to, I have it on my other chart, so I'll just give you the black chart. Fine. Every time it happens, I'm just going to pop one of these up for you. It caught a bounce off 18. I'm thinking of where I want to short this. You're not going to get 25s, I don't think. But I was looking at the channel from 21 to 22.5. Like, that's a little bit wide. And if it tests the top here, I might not get it because it might not actually test the top. But I'm just going to be very patient. It needs to come closer to this 22 so that support can turn into resistance for me. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But it's not the kind of stock that I want to short it unless it's exactly where I think the risk to reward makes sense. So you might see me stay away from INDO on this bounce, but I'm not looking for longs in this thing today. Not after that kind of a capitulation.
All right, so yeah, welcome guys to the Power Hour. That's what we're doing right now. It's Power Hour time.
Now it loads.
Hey Neil, how's it going, buddy?
I finally got it to load. It's like, whatever.
Hey, there it is. Hey, thanks, Tim. Okay, so those of you asking about Ford, okay, it is time. We are now reloaded, and we will try not to make the same mistakes as before and get out all the way up here. But this is a little bit of a different story because we do have down pointing 50 periods, and we do have a bottom rate here of 1744, and we're very, very close to that right now. So we did take another bid right now. I mean, you could see the average price. I told you we had 3% or something of the position left. So there it is. Now my average price is 47.8. So we just take a bid at 48 there. We put on a decent position. Let's see where it goes. We're going to give it down here to 1740. And we're just, again, you know, we're finally at some of these levels that we talked about here on the 20-minute chart. That's a 1 minute. Where's my 20-minute? Here it is right here. And trying to look at some of these bottoms that we've already made today, 1745. And then if you scroll it all the way down to the bottom and you're trying to play this and you think, okay, maybe it holds, then you have 1720 down here. But again, I'm kind of like just picking at straws with some of these levels, especially with the market coming back in. So I would just say trade this to your own comfort level right now. Like, I think we have a chance to go back up. We are well in the money now. $1, like look what we're doing, guys. $1.50. Remember we were at 57.40 and I was like, I'm going to hold for lower. Well, we got that on Citigroup. So let's go. Right there. I sound like Daniel Shea there. Yeah, so we'll go to the downside right there. And 57.20 is where we're at. This is $1.70 now in the money, $1.56 in the money. AMD. Again, down to the bottom as we're taking out $12 right now on AMD. This is $1.50 in the money as well. So you got back-to-back jacks here, $2.50 winners for you on board right now. And we also have Ford on that we're going to try this long with. So Ford longs and the other two shorts, not really looking to get out of any of them, but we will do some work. I got to find some outs, but let's go back over to Valeria and just check what she's saying.
Hey guys, that's what a great information by Daniel Shea, options specialist. And I remind you guys that Daniel joined us every Thursday at 2:50. So make sure add it into your calendar. And while I'm here, guess what? Smash that like button, team. Less than an hour left. Yay! Less than an hour left in this trading day, and we need your support. Please go and go long on the like button. Back to you guys.
There's other ones too, like. Awesome. Not quite as good. The yeah is probably one of the better ones.
I'm apologizing in the chat there because I saw people liked the yeah. I thought it fit pretty good there. But then I realized like it covers up her face, which, you know, I don't know. But
yeah, covering mine up is probably fine. But
yeah, okay, put it on Neil's face.
Yeah, there you go. That's fine. There we go. It even fits. You still see the chrome dome. It's all good.
Man, we have too much fun.
So we were just like, by the way, we were just sort of talking amongst ourselves like where are the bottoms for some of these shorts. But we just bounced off 14,000 on the NASDAQ. But the ES, and I'm going to do this thing again where I pull up this chart, but the ES is a little bit off of its lows, so it hasn't really tested it. Maybe you can hold on to that, grinding things lower. I just note that while that's happening, the stock that I'm looking at, SoFi, is making a bit of a triple bottom. What I would hate to have happen is NASDAQ hold to 14, and this holds a triple bottom. So as long as we're above 14,000, I think I want to trail SoFi to like 10.8. In case we bounce off, fair enough, it'll stop me out of the trade. If we break it, it's hold on for dear life and hold into the close or whatever you want to call it. I wish I had something that wasn't looking at shorting the bottoms. Like Tesla here, it doesn't really, I don't love it. I'm not going to lie to you. And then this one got away from me. I got into the DWAC trade, and then at the point I had like 4 shorts on. I was in and out of C3AI pretty quickly for like a 20-cent hit there, and then missed out on the chance to get Best Buy off the high again. It never quite made it to 113. When it started to roll over, there was probably a trade in here, you know, maybe maybe as it broke this 112 area, I could have gotten into the short and it's come down to view up, but I'm not chasing this, and we'll just work with what we actually have on right now. If I can find something I like, I will. Indo is definitely going to still be on my radar. I would have loved if this consolidation happened $1 higher. I think it would be a little bit safer, but look, it's still very weak in my mind. Anytime it puts in that kind of a flush, you do have a nice little consolidation area. I could risk 50 cents here and try to get into it, maybe push it closer to 21 and have a 21.50 stop. Not an unreasonable trade, but it has made a nice little bounce back. Keep in mind, oil futures are closed currently, and a lot of times this would move around with oil futures. But once it capitulates this deep after a double top at 25, I tend to prefer the fade in something like this, because 25 is a significant psychological level.
Okay, so we're actually taking out 10% right now of Ford at 1751, and I said, we put on a position and we did it, and we're only in the money 4 cents, so we will. Well, we're at 47, right? So 48, sorry. So we were at 47.5, so now we're at 48 because the average price is now gone. And let's just wait to see. The reason why I got out of that is because, again, the NASDAQ, and brought to our attention by Neil there, and I was like, oh my God. I said it earlier. Remember in the morning, I was like, let's see if we test 14,000. And we are doing that right now, 14,000 on the NASDAQ. Yeah, jinxed it, but I should have just kept all these shorts, which I did. We got some good ones on right now. So I think we'll hold on to AMD. So the reason why I got some out of Ford here is that if this doesn't hold and we crack down, then I really want to see, AMD break. So it's already breaking. This is $2 now in the money, AMD. So we're pretty happy with that one. We'll do a little face slap there as AMD continues to make a move down again. Out 1/3, out 2/3, bang. Obviously, when we look back, we're going to see like, why didn't we hold? But, that is what that is. To the downside goes the market, and still trying to make new lows here as we go. So let's see if it holds that. No targets out here on AMD. I mean, honestly, it's like the more I look at this, the more I'll find a level and just put it out. And then when it takes it down, I'll be like, oh man, I can't believe I got out. Unfortunately, the next area of consolidation is like at 111 flat right here, that top. And then you got to deal with this 110. So I don't know, man. I don't think the market's going to collapse that far, but maybe it is. And on that note, maybe I should forget about Ford and get out. But I think Ford's at some key levels. And then just an update on Citigroup. It also is trying to retest. I don't think we'll retest 56, but why not retest that bottom of 57? So right now on Citigroup, just in case you guys are, again, wondering where the outs are, short, short, short. This is all off the sticky notes. So shout out to anybody that doubts stuff that we're doing. Look, you're not going to be right every single time. That is 100%. Some of the calls we make aren't going to be right, and just like your calls aren't right, we're all not going to be perfect. But this was a good one, man. I like the Citigroup short. It's been paying off all day, so right into here. We'll wait for 57 bottom. Like my bid right now is at 57.10. If that comes in, great. If not, we're going to get out on a 57.40 break, which was initially going to be my out that we canceled. So if we take down this 50 period moving average, then, people asking, there's been a few people, and some people even tweeted at me and said, what are these? But that's volume weighted average price, the top one. So the blue one, I don't know what it looks like on your screen, but it's blue on mine. And then this pink/purpley one is the 50 period exponential moving average, and this is a 1 minute chart. That's the only things I'm looking at. And look, the 50 period isn't great. I mean, it's breaking in and out here, breaking back and forth. I'm just trying to use it for a trend change. So it's like this is pointing to the downside, and I can sort of see right here. Maybe if I zoom it up, it's kind of the way and the degree, I guess, of the slope here. And you see now it's starting to turn back around again. So we'll use 57.40. It's actually been a hindrance on some of my outs because it touches it and then it breaks back down. So you got to use a little bit higher. Let's use 57.45 for an out here on Citigroup, but we are bidding 57.10 as well. And there goes, by the way, Neil, AMD continues to make a big move to the downside. 115.50 now, $2 in the money on AMD. And there we go, Ford. Here we go. Ford back up, just as we said. There's the long on Ford. We took it against that level. So even when the market is not cooperating, if we trade smart, we can still make money. So like I said, whether or not you put on 1,000 shares here, here's $50, buy yourself some dinner. That's how I trade. And we'll see if Ford can continue to make its move back to the upside. We're making some money back here today.
But we did just have a bounce off 14,000, which we were talking about. The thing is, look, when on the futures, it breaks 14,000 and maybe goes like a point or two. That's not very significant. It needs to actually trade and hold below for a true break. So I'm still looking at it and being a little bit concerned that SoFi can come back on me here. It's fine. Like, it's about 30 pennies in the money. And I have taken profit. By the way, I have taken profit several times on the way down in SoFi. If I had not, I 100% would, if I had covered nothing, I would definitely be covering some here after the market's trying to bounce. I was looking to find a chart. Well, I wasn't trying to find a chart that was uglier than Uber, which, by the way, is pretty ugly if you call up Uber today. But people in the chat were asking about XPeng, and man, is this not a good look. It's not a good day for XPeng. Obviously, since the delivery numbers at the beginning of the month, this has been only falling. It rejected the 200 period moving average. This is the daily chart, by the way. But that bottom in January, remember the January 28th bottom we keep coming back to? That's 30 and change, 30 quarter on XPeng. And we are now 50 cents away from that. Maybe we break it, maybe we don't. But do you see what's under here? I would say that's a gap. Yeah, that's a gap down to $22 or $23 on your daily chart from here at 30. XPeng breaks this, and it's a trade worth having. It's just one of those, you look at a level like that and say to yourself, okay, when 30 goes, I want to grab it, but maybe it happens today, maybe it doesn't. It's getting crushed today. Down 10%, which means it is short sell restricted now and will be again tomorrow because it's down over that 10%. But I see that level, and for sure, I'm going to want to execute off it. I sort of came to that because, here's Uber, which in some ways is worse because it actually recently broke its low and is getting uglier. And so when someone said, wow, Uber, or someone said, now, wow, Uber, and I saw people talking in the chat, I was just asking why XPEV is extra bad today. There's a lot of names that are ugly. I feel like that one's extra bad. Uber has just been incredibly disappointing. And sometimes the chart can't get uglier from a technical standpoint. I own shares of Uber, and I wish it was doing better than this, but I think it's going to 28. It keeps bouncing away from the 200 just in textbook fashion. If a stock was trending up in this way, what would you be doing with it, right? Like, you'd just be living the life. But it's trending in the wrong way off of this, and it just broke the shelf again, which does mean usually it's heading down to another level, and that is back down to last support, which you go back to 2020, and you're talking 28 to 30 channel. So unfortunately, Uber's getting cracked. I know XPeng's down more, but in some ways this chart looks a little bit worse at this time because it's already broken the support that I'd be waiting for XPEV to break. Uber just getting woodshedded. A lot's getting hurt, but Uber getting woodshedded.
Yeah, do we know why? Did you know why?
I didn't see anything special about either one of those names, but
calling Brendan.
But there's a lot of names.
Yeah, I know.
That I was looking at my quote board
Probably
that are in that 8 to 10% down, that are high growth, don't make any money yet, and they're just getting smoked today. The NASDAQ is only down 1.5, and a lot of these names are getting destroyed, and there's no particular news on them.
I'm 20 feet away from Brendan at most here, and I do that.
But there's a pillar.
So in case you didn't hear me. No, obviously Brendan will find it. It's just probably a valuation thing again. A lot of these names just keep on getting cracked. And guys, thank you so much for the love on the chat again about Ford. And there it is, man. There's the buy. And there's the ins and there's the outs. We just took another piece out right there. Each one of these is about like 3 or 4%. So we'll see now. We do have on board still half of what we had in the first place. So some of these in here right at this part, 55s were about 10% each one. So right there, and we just took another 10% out here at 57. But some of these were about 5% and then 10%. So we do still have some on board as we watch Ford go to the upside. An update obviously on Citigroup. We talked about that, where we would get out of that one, and that's on a 40 break right there. So we're actually waiting for 45, but here it comes to the downside, and now everything's starting to crack downwards. AMD still making new lows. I was thinking about getting out at this 50 period right here. We may still do that, but the futures want to take 14,000 one more time, so that's going to be something to look out. Brendan, what's up?
There wasn't actually much, guys. On Uber today, they did announce a new collaboration with a company called Deem. That's really the only major headline for Uber today. But all of these not similar, but those Era type of companies, like this is not one of them, but ARIS, I was just looking at on earnings report. But like Square's down 8.5 today after a pretty good week for Square. A lot of things, as you said, getting killed.
It's so weird that you said that because that was the last one I just looked at. So I was again finding names in the quote board that are down that much. And Mike Murphy calling out, look, there is strength in the market, and one of those things is load up, baby, U.S. Steel. So This
I was
kind
going to
of
say, it said minus 8%. I was like, huh?
it's because it was still on Square.
Yeah.
It's just kind of always this way. Like if you ever try to take profit on something on the way up, the days that you do it or are likely to do it, it never ends up looking well. But I said yesterday, as U.S. Steel and as the daily chart tries slow, this is what happens every time it's been getting to this $30 level. And if you go back to last year, like 10 to 11 was a really clean break. Those pandemic breakouts, and then 20 was a really, really good level there, and now 30 has basically been the same thing. So it's like to me, that's just been like a ring the register type of level. And every time, sometimes you do that, and then we get a breakout, and next thing you know, it's at 40. But it'll never look good, but it looks great when the stock pulls back and capitulates that you took some profit out. Sometimes you just have to sell on the way up. If it's something that you are looking to maybe trade more, and it's not just I want to hold it forever, because I think U.S. Steel is a little bit more of a momentum name sometimes, and take advantage of it. But it is breaking out, man. Like it just broke this high in the daily, barely, so it was getting in rarefied air. But there's some strength in the markets, obviously. Like the ES, the NASDAQ, like the ES is down 0.5%. We're showing you Square 8 and all these other names like 10, 7, Uber, but it's not that bad in the market because there's plenty of things actually holding it up here. Super strength in the commodities here, especially in the metals.
Yeah, good look there. And this is for you, my man.
Oh, my God.
There we go. So what's up to Andrew Harris talking about if we posted a soundboard? I mean, honestly, I don't know anything about that, but we do have a new website coming out. Maybe it would be cool if we got some of our animations on there for you as well.
Things.
So that you could be like, oh my God.
Like there could be like a bang one.
Oh my God.
There could be like, I don't know if Brendan has the same.
Gift horse one?
Gift horse, Pratt. There'd be one saying, Pratt saying, here we go.
I mean,
although don't say that now because we're in a crashing market.
That's still Randy's thing, but I'll give it to Pratt. That's one for Brendan
for
sure.
Right.
One more time for the super chat, and thank you for that super chat.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Andrew. That means a lot, obviously, to us. And then you can even see out of the corner of some of these screens right now, Mark working like crazy here, to get all these improvements in for you guys. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to improve the show every single day for you, including new spaces to sit, new everything here. And pretty soon, Trader Pratt and Ms. V will be joining us at these nice desks as well. And it should be really fun. And then both shows will look uniform, and that is said goal. There. So, okay, not much else to go on right now. We'll just continue to trade, continue to hopefully make some money for you guys. AMD, again, I am looking at this 50 period here. That's 12.25. If we break above that, that could be an out spot. We did talk about possibly getting some out the first time here at 12.40, but it did break back down to that downside. Citigroup very close to getting out. It is taking out that 40 here right now. Again, we're waiting for 45, a little bit higher than that period. Let's go over to a name that we haven't looked at really that much today. What about Draftkings? You're talking about some names that are getting pumped here today. And by pumped, I guess I mean to the downside, pumped down here. And that is going to be this Draftkings trade. And you could see, man, what a disaster this name's been today. Down 10%. Like, we looked at this early on, and I was actually really surprised eyelash, that it actually held up and went up here in the pre-market. Like we knew, I think, was it today Investors Day or yesterday? But no, it was today. Today was Investors Day. That's right. So we were a little hesitant in taking this trade, but you could see all the way to the downside. And right now, actually not even catching a bid, down to $20 again. And I haven't found my way back into DraftKings yet, and I talked about selling this up in the 60s like we did. That turns out to be a good trade. But wow, DraftKings just not very good here off the last couple of days. They've got some upgrades from Morgan Stanley and a few other people calling it a good idea in the space. And when you see a move like this, it probably means Cathie Wood bought it up here. So now it's coming back down to the downside, and I really think DraftKings gets looked at around 1850 again. Some of these crazy bottoms. I'm going to assume you haven't heard me talk about Bruno yet today, or the Bruno equivalent, Palantir, and that's probably another name that's getting slapped today. I haven't even looked at it, like purposely don't want to look at this stock. You're down, again, another 6%. You're seeing SoFi down today, and a lot of these names starting to come back in. I think Palantir's a buy down here at $10, but again, these are just kind of like, you hold them if you have a time frame now. It looks like you're going to have to hold them all year. We do have multiple rate hikes coming. I believe a lot of these good names will come with, upgrades.
I don't comment on Palantir very often. I know that's your stock, and I can't say that I've done like terrible amount of due diligence on it. But in reacting to C3 AI's quarter.
Yeah.
I will say a few things that I'm somewhat aware of. That is on a sales basis, price of sales, Palantir is cheaper than C3AI. C3AI is dependent on 2 or 3 large customers, so that's more volatile. And they're up 3.5 points today. By the way, under one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen was C3AI after Snowflake reported, and this thing gets woodshedded down 24 to 19 after market. Then this market goes up from 22 to 26 and then comes right back down. Like, this is utter nonsense. This is what's happening on earnings these days. Volatility out the wazoo. But I don't understand relatively, like, how on a day where C3AI didn't have that great earnings and they're more expensive, relatively speaking, than Palantir, I think riskier, and you have them going up in a tanking market or up on the session, when in the aftermarket, it got absolutely dumped post-earnings. And today it's going to be up in that situation. Sometimes, and this is the thing, don't get too stubborn, because the obvious thing for me to have that outlook would have just been to be shorting it over and over and over again. But sometimes you can't. If it doesn't make sense, you can stay away. I don't get why that's happening if you look at some of the sort of like the data AI companies. But whatever, this is what C3AI is doing. For sure, tomorrow, when I now look at this, the post-market high at 24, that's the afternoon top that I tried to short and maybe only gave it 20 cents. I think there's a little something here to this 24, 24 and a half level, which I can look at tomorrow. Or maybe if it wants to bounce right now and give me a short off that level. But I don't understand the divergence between those two today based on the quarter that AI had and their fundamentals. But again, what do I know? I should still be in the short apparently, but that one's going to be a loser. SoFi is the one that we're still in, but we're still bouncing on the NASDAQ, by the way. So the trailing stop, it's going in at 1080. It can't do any worse than getting that quarter out of it. But like I said, I already took some profit out. I wanted to see if it could get down to 1050, breaking those lows. But with the market coming back up here, you don't want to fight it for too long. We got 20 minutes till the imbalances come out. We'll take the win and just be happy with it. You don't want this screaming back to the upside. And on another note, looking for things that are starting to go, Tesla getting off the schneid. 838, 840, the current bottom. It's setting up for a little bit of a break on this reprieve on the NASDAQ. And this is, so that 14,000 breaking, like, you, trust me, when you're trading the futures, and I'm not a futures trader, you would never be like, oh yeah, 14,000 breaks, I'm going short, and then like have a stop tick below. Or if you were long in front of it, and I should show you guys that when I'm, you know what, but this is, I'll show you guys the 15-minute chart there a little bit better. You should never have stops that just take one below. It's one thing on a $10 name at like 10:01 or something, but it'll never work out for you. You will basically just have your stop run 100% or 99% of the time, because yeah, it might have broken 14, but it went like a tick or a couple of points, and then we're back up 40 handles. So you can never, it's always a price area, like Arun tries to say to you guys in the morning show, and that's a perfect example of it down there at 14,000 on the NASDAQ. Brennan?
I just saw the CISO popping back up. I believe this was it is a cybersecurity name that popped up late in the day yesterday. It's been on the run the past couple of days. Relatively small here, guys, but you can see a whole bunch of volume just coming back into CISO.
All right, we just reloaded a short here in AMD, so let's call up AMD for you right now and just see what we're talking about here. It is resisting a little bump up. We did get right back to our 50-period moving average there, so we'll short it again here. And this is just, it's going to ruin my average price, but the thing is, the futures are also failing here to get back up. We may test that 14,000 again, and we know where AMD was when that happened. It was down here near 1170, so I'm just going to do this real quick. If we can just take a little piece out on the reload, it's going to look like, again, like people that are joining in are going to see that, you know, my short price is going to be there. Remember how we work with the accounting here? It's just average the prices in, and it takes this price and that price, and then when we get out, it acts like we still have that and doesn't show us the average price, which goes back to the original point of us not showing, like it looks like we're winning, but we're not. So here we go. Where am I bidding? There it is. Put it on the board.
Oh my God.
Right there, that's a nice short right there. Yeah, buddy, go. Yeah, so that's a nice win right there again. Like this was just meant to be a scalp. You see what I'm doing? I'm holding these longer plays and then scalping some out when we get a price that we like. So we're able to short that at 1.0. And again, up to you. That was a 112.05 out 111.85. So it's a smooth 20 cents, real quick. We'll take it. Again, that's what we're doing on AMD. I don't know what's going to happen here. If it continues to tank, great. We still are playing the short here in AMD. So that's just, again, now it's going to look, I gave up 10 cents there because now it comes back in. It all has to do with that magic crystal ball that I do not possess. But here we go to the, and I'm stealing that from Brad. That's Brad's. So that's what we need. We need like a, well, I know they're working on it because Brad's going to be sitting here soon, but that's what he needs, one of those graphics, like a crystal ball with like Brad's head in it, filled with smoke.
We're just having a test.
You know, this is like not just a pretty face. I got the graphic ideas as well here. Yeah, the market, Neil, is absolutely crashing as we're looking at 14,000 one more time coming in through right now, trying to take down this 14K. There it is. Oh, man, now I wish we would have held that AMD, but here it comes to the downside. And also, look what else held like a champ. Normally it's chump, but there it is. 57.45. That was our out. And look, there we go. Again, the honesty on the show is what we're trying to pride ourselves on. I told you what the out was going to be. It didn't hit, so we're still in it. It is what it is. We're not trading CFDs. We're trading actual equity, no options, no nothing here. We do have futures, and Arun will be here tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow, so everyone have a great weekend, but I'll do that sign off in 25 minutes when said market is closed. In the meantime, down with the market.
Yeah, market just hold on to your shorts, man. Now 14,000 is making another run. Tesla, this is why. Let it break out, right? Like it couldn't actually make the breakout. It tried to go, and then another leg down the futures. I just got an IMPP, mostly because it's a similar setup to INDO, which I can show you. I do like it. It's just it's a little further away from the levels that I liked at 220 or 22. But IMPP is in front of that 225 area, so I favor that one. I feel it's a little bit safer of the play. With this market cracking down, I can tell you, man, if it was ugly before, it's putrid now. 31.5 on Uber, and sometimes you just do short. Like imagine you're unwilling to short a bottom break on Uber today at 32. Well, you're 50 cents in the money. Sometimes it's just about short it. And play the momentum, and you can't be afraid to short out those lows. XPED, by the way, is running in the other direction from that $30 level. So, I don't want it to go down there. I have no skin in the game, but I want that 30 break for the morning. Like I would prefer to have that level be something in play in the morning as opposed to when we have 20 minutes for anything to even happen. I'm basically flat in IMPP because I'm short right at it's actually showing the profits. There you go. I actually have 217.5. I don't know why sometimes it rounds up and other times it rounds down. That makes literally no sense to me. But I got the 217.5 on it. And I'm not going to get anything out till about 210. I'll start getting out down to $2. But coming back over to SoFi, which is the other position we're in, I got my trailing stop. And then I'm just looking for it to take out the low. 1050 is the target. But that's mostly because I'm short at $11. And, it broke down this morning from 1150. And then 11 is this capitulation. So sorry, the bounce back came to $11. So 1050 makes some sense. I'm gonna have to be flat in this thing in the next 15 minutes, anyways. I always want to try to get flat before the imbalances, or have a tight stop going into 350. So we'll always do that. And it's just because sometimes you get price shocks when the closing imbalances come out. Brendan.
Another one from the EV group. Too Simple TSP. I guess they're self-driving, not really EV. Down huge here today. They announced they're going to replace their CEO pre-market. So looking like it might want to test new lows here for TSP.
Yeah, I was just going to tweet out because I did sell, just like Neil mentioned earlier about United Steel, or U.S. Steel, sorry. I did sell some Nucor today as well. And it just reminded me because I see Austin in the chat. What's up to Austin? He'll verify this trade. I mean, those of you that watch it, we don't need verification, but we were long down here at $95. And I'm long still. We reloaded it a couple times, and shout out to you, Austin, who said he sold it at 124. That's a great sale, man. That's exactly the spot you're supposed to do it at. We got a nice, that was only a couple days ago. We do take advantage of some nice bumps today. So I got some out just now at 138. I put the offer in. We got filled. There it is. We just got the notification now out 138 as things going flying around here. 138 there out of Nucor. So out of 1/3 of that trade. So shout out to you, Austin, and we'll go.
Yeah.
Good trade there on some commodities. So Nucor, we like that. Only out of a third, though. So we'll hold the rest and see if we take out that. I mean, I don't mind getting out if that wick is real there, 145-ish. If we can get it back up to the upside, that's great. And here we go. Right now, here we go, Brad. As this is starting to break down lower, lower, lower. AMD breaking new lows right now as we speak. Citigroup as well. Okay, I'm canceling this, man. I was at 57.10. Citigroup, man, you are honestly, today, slap that thing around and go boom. Because Citigroup today, we called that short, man, at 60 bucks, and we have it at 58.90. There it is to the downside. We're still holding on to Citigroup with only now 13 minutes until this market gives us the imbalances. I did see, maybe Brendan can confirm this tomorrow. Like I said, I'm not here, but Rocket Companies, I guess the special dividend goes out tomorrow. I saw someone on the chat say, so that's $1. So you're going to see here possibly moving down $1 tomorrow off the dividend, but we'll see there because again, whenever they take it out, it's coming out of cash position, so they will have to account for that, and it should bring the stock back down a little bit. But again, when they announced it, that should have also been priced in, so might have nothing to do with it. But in consideration tomorrow, Rocket Companies should be at least on the radar a little bit, but we'll see. The pre-market is what judges our watch list, right? If there's no action on this name, at least you heard it here. We'll confirm that special dividend comes off tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'm glad someone pointed out CTIC. Kai. Yeah, this is, I got stopped out on CTIC. Overall, the short, it was actually pretty good. I mean, it got almost two VWAPs. We had 95 short, took some at 85, took some at 81, and then we get stopped out in the second half. And it always felt like this was going to be the strong one, but I never did like it for a reversal at $4. At the time, it just wasn't really doing much, and that didn't work. So I'm glad I didn't reverse into the long on that trade. IMPP close, to getting it out when it moves the first 5 cents, but it's not quite there yet. INDO and IMPP kind of feel like they're moving lockstep there. Brendan, news?
All right, so I'm actually seeing the 7th, they're going to price it, which will be effective the 8th, and then it'll be the 22nd, it's payable, guys. So Monday, they're going to price it at the end of the day, which will be effective the 8th, and then the 22nd, apparently, is when it's actually payable.
All right, so that's it. So that's the key there. Thank you, Brendan, for that. And I'm just tweeting out this Nucor because I did say that we would obviously talk about some of these things, and I'll put out my trades when we actually have them. And then that's the Nucor trade right here, coming in and in at these 95s and out a little bit right now. So that's what that is. Look, we have just as many bad trades as well. But if you get a 40% win, we're going to take that. I mean, we're sitting in PaySafe, we're sitting in Clover, we're sitting in a lot of these stocks that just continue to be crappy. So we'll take some out of Nucor in case this move does happen again. I still like it. We're only out of a third. So we'll take the 40% on that one and see if we can deploy capital somewhere else.
Today, by the way.
Pardon?
PaySafe's up today.
Yeah, PaySafe had that report yesterday, remember? And they were up to a nice little level yesterday. I think it was 320. Did it get up to 340 yesterday? Let's check out PaySafe right now. I think it's at 317. Yeah, there it is. So 316-ish. Yesterday, they did have a nice move off of earnings. And remember, it was like, did we only get as high? Is this? No, that's today. Yesterday, we got as high as, let's just check out a 20-minute chart here for PaySafe. Yesterday, yeah, there it is. Yeah, 340. There it is. So bang. We hit that number as well, right on the nose. Like just throwing these out. That's 340 came in. Surprise turn to profit. What?
That'll do it.
Yeah, but they're making money. PaySafe, a surprise turn here up to 340 yesterday. We're still stuck long at 7. So, we will ring the register at some point if we get back up on PaySafe. I'm honestly thinking like 450-ish. Maybe we'll take some off there for a hit, and then if we can come back up here to 7, then that'll be great. But I don't think that's coming anytime soon, that's for sure. So here we go. The market trying to go back down again here. Just looking at 14,000 again, stopped, and now starting to go back down. So we're going to look for some trades to put on. But right now, I'm happy with the ones we have. Still watching that Citigroup.
Yeah, like that's the thing. When the market's going down like this, sometimes you just have to be willing to hold on to your shorts and not force it. You've seen in the afternoon show where we like some longs off the bottom and just go back to the well, and there's always something at an attractive low when the market's doing this. It's easy to do, man. Like someone's saying Facebook, Team PJ, CT in the chat there, Facebook 200. Yeah,
I mean, already? Is it down there?
It's close. I mean, CRM's close to 200 too. I like both. I like CRM. I would actually, if I had to pick one of the two, actually I do want to buy CRM, but I like it closer to 180 if it goes down there. But if I had to pick one of the two, I would probably pick CRM to buy over Facebook right now. But yeah, both at these 200 levels. It's a big level. I mean, right now 202. I mean, 200 psychologically is a big level. Right now, this 202 on the 15-minute chart, this is yesterday's bottom where it ran the day before. Same thing. So you've got a multi-day low here at 202. I look at this with the context of 14,000 breaking and ask myself, is that a long I want to defend with 10 or 15 minutes later? Or if this was earlier in the day, what would I be doing with this level? I think I'd be trying to short it. Right? I know a lot of times because you're up against it for time, it's easier to think, well, if I take the long scalp trade off of the low, I risk a few cents to try and get just a small bounce. Whereas if you're playing a short like this, you want the gap, right? And there's no time for the gap to happen on Facebook. And a lot of times it's easy to say, well, yeah, so the only real trade you can make with 15 minutes as a day trader is to try to do the long, because you have no time for the short to work. Maybe that's a tomorrow thing, like XPeng, which I'm looking at. Well, you can't think that way. If I don't like the longs in this market right now, then I'm not going to make that trade just because it's the only one there. Someone said PayPal 100. Maybe it's the same thing. I actually like, load it up here, but yeah, PayPal 100. Square 100 was a good level. PayPal was pretty good the last time we were here, but this market doesn't seem to want to hold this 14,000. Do you want to, because right now we've already broken 14. So do you want to be going long this in the midst of a huge level break in the NASDAQ in front of the imbalances coming at 7 minutes? No. I'd rather just be in the two shorts that I'm in and then make a decision on those, manage those trades going into the close, as opposed to trying to make a bit of a mess here, potentially, as this is a huge flush that could happen. Imagine if we get a sell imbalance here. That would be ugly.
I feel like they're anticipating said sell imbalance. So,
maybe they fake it out.
I just said, wow, AMD, wow. We reloaded it, so it's going to look like we only have a 70-cent winner, but realistically, we're still holding from here all the way to the downside. We did a quick scalp there, but this is still moving, man. I told you we switched up their game. This is the thing. Look at all of these hits. Again, they're hits. There's no doubt about that, but look how light they are. They're 20, 30 cents hits. That's what we're taking on AMD, and it sucks when it happens. Again, depending on the share size you use, it could be a nasty one. And I don't want to say they're career enders or anything, but you got to watch out for these names. We've seen it come down. We've seen it go up in the end of the day. But when these names start to go, they start to really go. This is flushing right now. AMD starting to take some levels out. I didn't think, Neil, that we would see that 110 on AMD, but guess what? It's coming faster than a speeding bullet right now to the downside, down to 110 here for AMD. I don't know. Does it get to it today? Who knows? If I could hold this short overnight, I may just do it. Coming into Friday, not good, man. And I'm nervous about everything here into a Friday. It doesn't seem like, and I have theories, and it's too bad that we don't talk about politics or anything here. And maybe if you hit me on Twitter, I'll tell you a little bit more. But I think that this Russia thing, we'll see. But people aren't pleased, and you guys know this, with Putin and everything like that. So I don't know how this ends well for him, but we're going to wait to see what happens. And I just feel like there may be one last hurrah here, maybe happening sooner rather than later. But this war doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. And when it does, I feel like it's going to be ugly for one side. I'm not sure that a peaceful ending will happen to this unless certain things happen. So let's just wait to see. Friday could be nasty tomorrow. I feel like the futures are kind of trying to price that in. So let's hold some of these shorts all the way. And I've held this all day, man, this Citigroup trade. And this is, again, what we're talking about. We held this all day, and we're rewarded right now as Citigroup is, yes, sir, in honor of Mr. Arun coming through tomorrow. Pew on that one, all the way to the downside. 57 coming into play one more time here. So there it is. This is a big trade for me. This is $2 now in the money on Citigroup. And again, talked about this early. We still have the trade. Citigroup on board here. $1 now in the money on AMD, as that's going to take out 111 here. Wow, this market is sick right now.
Yuck.
Just watch out for your longs. Oh, on that note, sorry, let me go over one of my positions here. Look at this. Ford, we're out. So right now, I do have that last 10% on, but we got out a piece right there, and we're just talking. So I got out the last decent piece there at 57 when it broke below this. So we put that long on for you against the day's low, and now we're practically out. And no, we are not reloading. We'll take out the last 10% if it breaks 46, period. That's it. End of story. Wrap it up on Ford. Good trade for me on the long. Actually really happy that it worked. Brendo.
Overall market very weak here, guys, but another one starting to roll over once again. Let's go back to Snowflake. Here we go again. Just got rejected there at that last little high anyways. Big sell volume just came in on Snow.
Oh, Snow. Oh, that was another one that we haven't really reviewed. Oh, okay. So
it just kept falling.
yeah, I can still be happy with this because
point.
my best out here, this is a $9 winner on Snowflake that we had here earlier on. So you can see where my out was right here. You got to see where my out was here. No problem. Downside right there, 217 we got out of Snowflake. Should have we reloaded it? Maybe if it got to view up, but it didn't. Thanks for that, Brendan. You can see Snowflake starting to turn down. And again, as this market goes, who wants to hold these companies, right? Not I. So getting out of those, you know, I still hold Palantir, you guys know that, but Snowflake down to the downside right now. I'm still pretty happy with these two outs that we have near the bottom of the day. So Snowflake off that short, first out right there. And this is what we did, man. We took the first out, 226. First out, 223.50. It's only $2.50, but look where it is. It's rating consolidation. Once that broke to the downside, that was party time. Comes all the way back up, breaks back down again into our area, and we take that out. Watch out for Snowflake breaking through 215 here on an imbalance, maybe.
Yeah, and look, I did ring the register there on good old SoFi. I'll go back to an old one because yeah, we have some old school ones, and that's sort of doing the floss.
Hair, it's exactly
which I can't
that's
do. It's weird. It's almost like we did a bunch of those when I happened to shave my head once, and now they all come back into vogue. 'Cause I don't really do it that often, but here we are anyways. But one of the other reasons, so it'll look like on the chart, like if I zoom this in, it's gonna be like, how did you know this was gonna be the bottom on SoFi? I absolutely did not know. This is what happened on the NASDAQ. And then once again, pull up the NASDAQ chart. After breaking 14,000, yeah, this is yesterday. 13.95 on the NASDAQ. And guess where that bounced? So I just saw this bounce as I'm watching my futures chart, and I've been looking for a target out. We're close to 350. It's about to be in bounces. I was looking for it out anyways. The second I saw it bounce off that level on the NASDAQ, I just bid. And then that was it. And the market turned, obviously, and then SoFi went. So that's as simple as it was. Like, there's nothing crazy about it.
Oh, shit, the balances.
But bounces in 25 seconds, and I did want to get out, which I'm also going to do here. I'm flat on IMPP. It's at 16s. I'm going to start having to take this off and only make a penny or two on it because we are running out of time, and I got to get out.
Yeah, so right here, I didn't even realize the time, part of my language there. Okay, we're getting ready to rock and roll. These are not the imbalances. We got to go to the screen ASAP. All right, so here we go. With only 5 seconds to go, we'll see where these imbalances go. We're going to watch the market. We have AMD right here. Our out for AMD is 1150 in case it goes the other way. It does look like it's a big sell to the bottom here. So Pfizer with a big sell. EDU must be being rebalanced. That's a sell as well. That's a buy, sorry. Apple with a 1 million share sell. So we can see what this is going to do to the Apple trade. Yeah, Apple right now at day's low, still going to the downside. Microsoft with a sell. Uber with a sell as well to the downside. Oh, where'd it go? Uber with a sell side to the downside. And you can see this is taking out new lows as well of 31.50. So yeah, no, I don't see too many buys, man. Coca-Cola, Warren Buffett wins again, as that's the only buy on here, basically.
Yeah, it's wow. I was just doing the same thing. I was trying to find something that's bid. And the names that are beaten up, Uber, by the way, 800,000 to sell. That chart, it's just ugly, man. It's ugly, and it really does feel like 28 is going to come into play. It didn't really make a huge move off the lows, and that's sort of the thing. It's much crazier on an imbalance trade if you have something like that with a big sell imbalance when it's clear or close to a resistance level, like going to the upside. That would be a much better idea. But a bit of a bounce in the overall market. Like, we bounced again off that 13.95. Tesla just broke off of its low 5 or 6.
Yep.
And we've seen this before. Like, get a bunch of sell imbalances when you're at the low of the day, and it doesn't really follow through. Sometimes it's because everything has fallen so far. So it does a little bit of a turn here, which is happening. I'm glad I got out of SoFi because, that's right back up like 10 cents or so. So sometimes it works out getting out in front of 350, other times it doesn't. I just find you find the rule that works and you stick to it, right? And as long as it works for you, go ahead and do that. I hate holding through when you're in the money. I usually want to take the profit and run unless it just happens to work out in my favor.
Yeah, it's just a pure fluke.
Yeah,
I mean, we
exactly. It's a coin toss.
financial juice. So maybe Valeria could put that in the chat. Some people are asking about, like what website do we use for those early indications? Today it was reading, I guess, 700 million to sell is what I saw there. So, but again, all right. To Neil's point though, great trade. We're gone. There it is. Wow. AMD. So again, it took this out. We took it out at 50. It did break above there on that imbalance. So we just used this area, the 111.50, to get out. It's now taking out the 50 period. You can get out now, but we did take that out on that imbalance right there, 111.53. So it probably comes back down. So we'll see what happens with that. We may as well just get out of our Ford. Look at that. It was down here at 50. Look at the bid that Ford's catching. And again, I didn't see it on here, but doesn't mean it's not. There's Ford. Ooh, it's a sell, Ford. So, Ford going back up, obviously. It doesn't care. This is the other thing to note, and this is why Neil and I always talk about the size of these imbalances, because size does matter. On the imbalances, sorry, I don't know what I was thinking on that one, but you can see there are only 500,000 shares into 87 million, So that's not going to move the name. If this was like a 5 million share imbalance or something into 87 million, then fine. But the stock's not going to care about a 500,000 share print that comes at the end of the day. So that's sort of how you read this. I don't know. There's probably something on EDU, but again, a big imbalance here for EDU today. 15 million shares. It's only done 15 million. So you could see here on a daily, it's just all the way to the downside. It's a Chinese one. So
I know that.
It's a Chinese education name, as far as I know. Yeah, it doesn't look like. See, look, even on a 15 million share buy imbalance, it ticked up like 2 pennies. So it doesn't seem like it cares that much about it. Citigroup are out, just to give you guys an update on that one. Our out's going to be a break of 30. It's right at the 50 period again. So a break of 30 on Citigroup. Otherwise, let's just put a bid in the mid-teens and see if we get that.
Everyone's having a field day with that one, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, Sean.
That's why I did it.
TJ, you know what? I just got flat. Essentially made 1 cent on IMP. People, we're 5 minutes away from the close here, so I will take a look at Etsy. No problem doing that. Look, it's down 1.7%. It's a weird thing to say that it's essentially down the same as the NASDAQ, and in some ways there's at least a little bit of relative strength, because a lot of beaten up names that have made recent bounces are pulling back into support as opposed to holding near the high. So that's what Etsy's doing. It is not breaking down out of this channel. It's trying to hold this channel for support. I think that's a great sign. Obviously, the short that we had here off 150 tells you what I think about that price level. But guess what? Since that capitulation after the gap up in earnings was too fast, it's now held the line above 150. That is a great sign, especially on a day like today. If it holds this, I think it's set up great for a break. It's at that 50 period, needs to get above 165 here. But it's already passed the first couple of tests, which is after the sell-off in earnings, finding immediate support, holding on a day where a lot of things are getting woodshedded, and is poised. It's not out of the woods yet because, hey, if it breaks 150, yuck. But it's some positive signs. You can't find many in names that have a chart profile like this, but at least you got that for Etsy, Brendo.
Yeah, a few good days there for Etsy. Lots of strength in the retail sector today as well. I was just noticing, guys, the total, huge, 2.9 billion to sell after the 50 number there. Let's get you caught up on what to know for tonight after the close and before the open tomorrow. Still some earnings to come.
All right. I'm just, first of all, we'll just go, because we got out of our Citigroup there in the teens, as stated. So we're really happy with that trade here. Costco's been an absolute beast. I mean, honestly, it's held up pretty good. It did have some dip buys. We'll see what they're going to report tomorrow. I expect that from what I know of Costco, again, their supply chain management, most of it is in-house. Obviously, they can't handle the supplies coming into them. But as far as shipping and getting into stores and things like that, I feel like they should be okay on supply chain. A lot of what they sell, of course, is their Kirkland brand. So hopefully they'd be able to manage that, being from the U.S. And then Gap is a nice name as well. But good luck to everybody trading tomorrow. Your boy is off.
I'm watching Marvell, but after what happened to Ambarella and the way things are looking today, it almost feels like if they beat, it's going to be a tough sledding for them. There's something else they sell at Costco, and I will be getting them there.
Memberships.
Well, I don't have a membership at Costco, so I always use someone else's
Tires.
Membership. Yeah, they sell rims, right? So I get some rims for the winners that you put on there. So I get them from Costco. Actually fantastic value. It's the kind of thing, like, you might not think about it, But they got it all, man. And
Oh, I do think about it, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm surprised you don't have a membership. The thing is, memberships pay for themselves, bro. Anyways, I think you get, what is it, 2% back or
small
5%
family,
back
man.
or something?
We can't. I just feel like we can't really
If
take
you bought a
advantage of it.
membership and then you spend $1,000 on tires, you'd be free membership. That's the point.
Yeah, but if I'm only doing that every few years.
No, but I say this year, just do it now. When you
Yeah,
go to buy
you're
it.
making a strong case. Okay, fine, I get it.
If you spend $1,020 on the membership, you'll get it anyways.
And now Sean works for Costco and is earning those commissions.
Yeah, so
There you go.
I've been a
There you
Costco
go.
shareholder for a long time. My father and I used to scalp it in and out at $100. It's now $500. Unfortunately, don't hold enough as we should at those levels. But
Comp SX, they spinning.
what?
We're talking about rims, right?
Oh, rims.
I can't say the whole thing. Obviously,
You gotta get the ones with the spinners. That's for sure. And yeah, we won't go.
No, I'm just for like winter tires. That's not my jam, man.
Yeah.
I'm way too simple.
There's the out there on Citigroup again. Oh, actually. Oops, I didn't even realize that. We are long Citigroup, so let's get out of that one now. And there we go, make a winner sometimes when you don't even realize it. That was a stop order right there, so we won't ring the register again for that one. Bank error in my favor, so thank you for that one,
baby.
finally. We got out, there's the out there on Citigroup, just to show you guys, we talked about getting out in the teens. We took the 19 print, that's the out. And then there's that order that I left in. It's a stop order, take it out. Remember I said if it breaks above the 50 period, we're going to get out. Well, it punched me long, and we were just long there at 32 and got out at 42, so a quick 10 cents back. But Citigroup is my trade of the day, I feel like, just because we called that. Similar to that $7 winner on Rivian, or $4 winner on $6 winner on Rivian yesterday. And then let's see how low Snowflake is right now. Ooh. No, I thought Snowflake would be low
Bouncing.
due to the fact that we took out 14,000. But wow, what a good bounce. Best prices on Snowflake. Like, we actually have those today. I feel like we should NFT this one and just somehow delete all of these trades up here.
We actually are back above 14,000. That's why you get that bounce. A lot of things made a little bounce there when the imbalances came out. It's like it had fallen down too far. Unfortunately for me, I shorted IMPP and not INDO. And related names, both small caps running, and picked the wrong one. But that just rolled over once again. Like I said, these things, when they make moves like that, they kind of become a short. I don't like those longs after that big capitulation. You end up holding the bag a little bit a lot of times there. With under a minute to go, I don't think it's a stretch to say that we're not going to get green today. But it was a wild day. It was a fun day. As Sean said, we do get a rune tomorrow. But today we get Miss V on the bell to ring it. Yesterday, kind of making it fun, but
black.
Yesterday we had a ton of fun with Isaac and Mohammed to get ringing the bell. It was a ton of fun. They get a gift. Again, big thank you to them. I hope you guys are watching again today. But it's back to Miss V on the bell.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, we're curious.
Okay,
Let us
Neil,
know
get ready.
where you went to dinner. Time to drop the countdown.
We're getting good at this.
There you go.
There it is, 10 seconds to go, and it's Ms. V. Let's go over to her ASAP right now as we're getting ready. 5, 4, Ms. V, 3, 2, and 1, kill it. And it's Ms. V. You know what I think we should have on that shot, guys? Wider. So you get like the whole shot there so they can see the full thing. They can see Tony in behind and everything like that. I think that would be awesome to do that because we see Ms. V. There he is. We see Ms. V every day.
He's serious, man.
You know, you get the whole look there. And then pretty soon, guys, it's Gregory. We'll do this tomorrow with Arun. But email address there. Well, I don't even know what it is. So
it's Gregory
M. Or is it Gregory S?
No, M.
Gregory M. at selectvantage.com. We're just taking resumes for one more day. That's it. There it is. Look how good these guys are. See, if we delay long enough, boom, it gets on there right there.
That's the whole plan, right?
It is the Gregory M. at selectvantage.com.
You learn to stretch sometimes.
1 day left to get in your resumes and cover letter. If you don't send in a cover letter, I think that's fine. But it's nice to do that. Send it in. Mr. Gregory M will review
cover
those.
letters, eh?
And then I think that maybe next week, although we should have done it this week, I don't know if you guys want to do it tomorrow or not. It's up to you. I won't be here, but
we should
review what the interview process kind of is and what the expectations are for traders on the Toronto floor. And you get to, chill with us. And then eventually we'll force you to come on the show. So that should be fun.
That's also true.
But let's not steal too much of time here. I got in trouble yesterday because I was like wrapping it up and they're like, well, what about Brendan? So right now, hey, Brendan, how did we wind up?
Just a note, guys, on Disney. Disney discussing launching ad-supported tier of Disney Plus. Apparently, that just came out. Here we go. Market's red, but it could have been a lot worse. Obviously, 0.5% there for the S&P, the Dow, same 1.5 for the NASDAQ. So yeah, red, but off the lows essentially for the day, which is pretty good. Bitcoin and Ethereum did struggle today. Worth a note. We'll see what happens tomorrow. What a move again today in crude oil, man. We were up 8% at one point today on crude.
It's crazy, the whipsaw action and volatility in crude oil. As a matter of fact, Arun's going to be on tomorrow. He said to me in passing in another conversation, he's actually looking at oil futures now because sometimes when the opportunity is there, you apply those skills somewhere else. That's the thing about learning like technique and how to develop a trade and risk management and all of that, because then you can transfer from like trading small caps to big caps to futures to crypto. And these principles can all apply. That's why we try to go over it every day.
All right, guys, it's been an absolutely fantastic show. I hope you had some fun with us. I mean, I'm so thrilled. Like, I was almost DOA on Ford and able to make back actually more than half now. Actually, a lot more than half of what I was down at one point. But there's Ms. V. Always happy. It's always nice to see her smiling. I'll miss all you guys tomorrow. Kind of. But I'll be watching live as well, so I'll be in the chat. I want to give a big shout out to Trader Brad. Thank you so much for once again another kick-ass show in the midday moment. And thank you to Miss V, who is on that show too. We can't have a great show without the two of them. And thank you to all our Twitter followers and everybody watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you get a second. It's the trade of the day. It's coming up next. And we're back tomorrow at 8:30. So watch out. Options expiring the end of the week. Lots of movement in today's market. Should be a fun one tomorrow. I'll catch everyone on the flip side. See you tomorrow, 8:30, guys. Ciao.